Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to the advisory committee meeting. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. And first on the agenda is the approval of minutes from April 1st. I believe everybody received a copy of it. And do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? No? Okay, all in favor? No, abstain? Thank you. So 8-0, you went,
I was absent.
that's right, I'm sorry, so 7-0-2.
Correct.
Thank you. All right, first on the, before we start on the discussion on the town article, we have a citizen that would like to address AdCom. So Sue, would you like to introduce yourself to AdCom?
Sue Drang, for those of you who don't know me. I was on the advisory committee for 6 years. I watched your meeting where you were discussing the citizens petition to improve the CIP committee, and I just wanted to speak briefly on three kind of key points on that. The CIP committee consists of 5 members. So this year, that was the town manager, the superintendent of schools, the DPW director, so 3 employees, a member of the advisory committee, and a member of the board of selectmen. So the first improvement would be to make this committee all town residents. So it would be actually more like the advisory committee. The state actually mandates that towns have advisory committees. Massachusetts state law requires towns to have advisory committees or finance committees to be watchdogs for the town. Committees were established so groups of taxpayers could conduct a thorough review of municipal finance questions on behalf of all citizens, right? So you guys, that's the job that you do. You review the operating budget on behalf of all of us. So if we had a committee that did the same thing for the capital budget, basically it's the check and balance, right? The financial watchdog, that would be a good thing. You know, good government has checks and balances. So the second thing this would do is it creates 3-year terms. So the member of the advisory committee and the board of selectmen are only on this committee for 1 year. And as members of the advisory committee, you know that your first year, you're just learning things. And you build that knowledge up year over year. So then you become people like Larry and Bernard and Sharon and Tom and Brian, who have this institutional knowledge that they've built up knowledge year after year. So it's important for these, any committee to have these longer terms to build that institutional knowledge. And the third thing is, which I think is most important, is the CIP committee is tasked with producing a 5-year plan. So the current committee doesn't spend that much time on this, which you can kind of understand really, because the superintendent of schools is on this committee. So she doesn't want to spend a lot of time looking at, you know, what are the needs of the police department 5 years down the road? That's not an efficient use of her time. Similarly, the DPW director, he shouldn't be worried about what is the library going to need in 5 years' time. A citizens committee, like the advisory committee, that's the CIP committee, can really do a deep dive on the 5-year plan. What are the police going to need? What are the fire going to need? And really spend that time that this current committee just can't do, understandably. So those are the 3 main things. It creates a check and balance. It gives the 3-year terms for consistency, and it allows the time to really do a deep dive on the 5-year spending plan for the town. The only other point I'd like to make is I think it would be really important for this to happen now, because our town manager will be retiring in a year or 2, and he's our expert on this. So right now, he can pass that knowledge on to this committee, and then they would have that knowledge, that institutional knowledge. But of course, once he retires, we're going to lose that. So I'm hoping that this passes so he can pass on his expertise and we can move forward with an improved capital improvement committee. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Sue. Hey, Sue, how come it's so sunny in the background? It's kind of dark here. You don't have to answer. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, before we start voting on the remaining town articles, I just want to, I think there were some questions by some members. What you vote tonight on the article, whether it's yes or no, at town meeting, well, tonight you're voting as AdCom members. At town meeting, during the discussion, if someone gives a compelling reason and you, for some reason, say, hey, you know what, that argument makes sense, for or against, I don't care what it is, it's okay for you to change your vote, because tonight, you're voting as AdCom. Usually people don't, but if you really feel, maybe I voted the wrong way and want to change, that's okay. I'm not going to say, hey, Brad, you voted no. Why is it yes now? We won't do it. But it's your right. You can change it at town. I just want to let you know you can do it. Most people don't, but you could.
All right. Can I ask a question? At town meeting, do we know these people or questions, debate is coming? Do they need to advertise that they're going to be presenting some questions to an article?
No. Town meeting is the voters will show up.
Yep.
You will present your article, let's say Article 10. You're going to give your 30-second, 20-second summary of the article, and then pretty much you're done. Then the town folks will start asking questions. Whoever owns that article, management, will usually respond. You don't have to respond because they're not asking you. So
I see.
So they're asking management, what is this? What is that? So once you're done, you just kind of let whatever department, planning board, town manager, finance, anybody do the talking for you. So once you're done with your spill, you're done.
Larry,
Yeah.
in Dan's write-up, and maybe Dan wants to speak to us, it looks like the DPW director is removed entirely. There's some folks left as ex officios, but
I'll read through the whole
Yeah.
thing. That's correct. Everything in there has been fact-checked by the group that is presenting this,
Yeah.
and specifically the person that's presenting this,
so
as well as people in the current company.
I see a big scene taking the DPW director, not only office.
John, if I may,
Yeah.
we'll discuss CIP when we get to it.
Okay.
So right now, we'll just go in order of the article.
Sure thing,
Okay?
thank you.
So the first one, if you're ready, Dan, is Article 5, the CIP budget.
Give me 1 second, Larry.
Okay, no problem. That's the copy right there. Right in front of your copy. No.
That's your copy.
Oh, it's for you.
I printed my own.
Yeah. Yeah, I told.
I know you signed up copies, so.
I told Marie to make sure we have nine copies, so there were 9 of us.
Sharon and Brian.
I'm sorry?
Sharon and Brian.
Sharon and Brian, well, they're both not attending. They're not attending through Zoom, so there's no need for individual roll call.
Okay. Why can't I find it?
Then would you like us to skip to the next one, and we can
That would
circle
be
back?
great if we could
Okay,
come
no
back,
problem. All right, the next one is Article, we've done 6, 7, 8. Article 9, hey, actually, that's me. Okay, I'll be presenting Article 9, 10, and 11, fiscal year 21 retroactive contract on behalf of Brian. I believe I emailed his write-up for everyone to look at. So I have a question. Is it okay if we vote all 3 articles at the same time, and I'll give you the differences in it? Any objections to it, or do you want to go one by one?
I think we have to vote each one individually for the count. We have to vote each individually.
Okay,
9, 10. Each warrant article has to have its own separate vote.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't think anyone's gonna vote yes for one and no for the other, but that's okay. We'll do one by one.
Right, yeah.
That's fine. Take a seat. Okay, let me find his notes. Okay, Article 8, Steelworker Contract, Unit A, fiscal year 21. This one is pretty much, you've seen the amount, it's, the town management is looking for $35,000 to pay for this retroactive. It is to cover COLA, and this article represents town department heads and supervisors. Have any questions on anything? Go ahead.
The question I had on all three of these is,
Yep.
were there any steps added in any of these agreements?
I don't think they were when it was presented, I'm pretty sure.
Because that's a key thing.
Yeah.
Because that doubles the
Mike,
salary expense.
Mike, can you answer that question for the fiscal year 21?
I can. There were no steps added in fiscal year 21 or 22.
I know your answer, Mike. I just wanted to make sure that, we put it out there.
Sure.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks.
Welcome.
Any further questions? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve Article 8.
Wait, it's 9, isn't it?
9.
9. Some of the stuff that came in the mail was,
Steelworkers is 9.
yeah, Steelworkers is 9.
Unit A is 9.
You're right, so Brian had the wrong one.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I corrected the thing he sent in. but
That's
yeah.
fine. 9, 10. Sorry, we are talking about Article 9, and do I have a motion to vote on Article 9?
Motion to vote.
Second?
Second,
All in, for any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? 9-0-0. Okay. Like that. Next is Article 10, Steelworker Fiscal Year 21, Unit B. This one is $39,000. Again, it's to cover COLA, and this one represents town administrators, the assistants, the clerks, and the non-management positions. Any questions on this article? No. Okay, do I have a motion to
Motion.
vote? Second? Okay, all in favor? Any further discussion? No. All in favor? Okay, thank you. 9-0-0. Next article, Article 11. This is the police contract for fiscal year 21. This one is $70,000, no steps. It represents COLA, and it's pretty much for all the department, pretty much the department other than management. So, any questions, any discussion on this? No. Do I have a motion to approve this article?
Motion to
Second?
approve.
Any further discussion? All good? All in favor? Opposed? 0. So 9-0-0. Thank you. Next one is Article 12. Dennis?
okay, this is the steel workers contract, Unit A for FY '22. It's a one-year agreement. Total funding request is $37,000. 17 employees in this unit, department directors and supervisors. 2% COLA increase, which is $33,000 of the $37,000. The only other significant item is increase in weekend call pay, $25 a day, and that's a total of $2,400. There's also on an agreement on a new performance evaluation system, a non-economic item, but very important in this agreement, and all the costs were covered through the salary expense reserve.
Any questions for Dennis? Okay, Dennis, you want to make a motion?
Motion to approve the funding request.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? 9-0-0. Thank you, Dennis. Next article,
13.
13. Go ahead, Dennis.
Pretty much the same thing. It's a one-year agreement for FY '22. Funding request is $41,000. 38 employees in this unit, administrative assistants, clerks, social workers, drivers, others. 2% COLA is $39,000 of the request. No new steps added. cost covered through the salary expense reserve.
Any further questions for Dennis? No? Want to make a motion, Dennis?
Motion to approve funding request.
Any further discussion? No? All in favor? 900. Thank you, Dennis. Next one is Article 14. John?
That's me.
Oh, sorry. You know, I need better glasses. Sorry. That's you.
I have mine on.
I know. Can you help me out for that?
Either fog or you can't see.
I know. Jeez. Just an
This is a police contract, again, it's a one-year contract for FY '22. Major points, total funding request is $73,000. 35 employees in this unit, 2% COLA increases, $72,000 of the $73,000. No new steps added. There was an increase for details of $2 an hour to achieve parity with other area police departments. There were some changes to the process for educational reimbursement as well. And again, the costs were covered through the salary expense reserve.
Any questions for Dennis? Want to make a motion, Dennis?
Move to approve funding request.
Second? Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, 9-0. Did you vote? Yes, okay, 9-0-0. Thank you. Article 15, John.
All right, so I sent out everyone an updated one where I accidentally had this listed as Article 17, but now it says 15. So there are 21 employees at the library. They're with a 2% COLA increase. They're looking for a total of $24,000 for a one-year contract, and there were no other significant changes in the contract from the last renewal.
Any further questions for John? No? John, you want to make a motion?
So motion to approve Article 15 as written.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Any further discussion? No? All in favor? All right, 9-0-0. Next is Article 16, library contract.
Just read off the library contract details you did, so we've got the numbers switched again, I think.
So,
Right, because you just said how many people worked at the library,
I'm sorry.
which is 16. I think you just, John, you just read off the library details, right?
Yeah,
And that's
let-
16 in
let me make sure I wasn't.
Yeah,
looking
that's
off-
right. I remember enough of my email. I already point color up.
Actually, okay,
So
Yep.
we voted on 16.
we voted on 16.
Okay, we voted on 16, now we'll go back to 15, so.
Okay, so now, yeah, all right, now I see what I did. So 15 will be the DPW contract. I goofed the numbers there, I switched them. So on the DPW, same as most,
You found it?
as with most other town departments, there is a 2% COLA. They have 26 employees, it's a one-year contract, however, two other things in addition are people on call for the weekends will receive an extra $25 a day. And then there's a change in the summer hours. The summer hours schedule is working Monday through Thursday, 9 hours a day, and then 4 hours on Friday to kind of have an early start to the weekend. The existing schedule has them May 1st to October 1st on the schedule, and they requested extending it from April 1st to November 1st. So they'll have an extra 2 months with a half-day Friday.
Okay, any questions for Dan on Article 15? No, we're good. John, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, motion to accept as written.
Second? Okay, any further discussion? No? All in favor? 9-0-0. Thank you. 15. Do you want to wait and?
I'm good to go. Apologies. I just wanted to make sure I got the numbers right. I
Okay.
didn't have them in front of me.
All right, so we're going to go back to Article 5.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So this is to vote to adopt the recommendations of the CIP, the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. Their total funding request is $1,510,986, with $623,656 coming from Chapter 90, $235,000 coming from ambulance receipts, and $652,230 coming from free cash. This was sent out back in March, and was pared down pretty well done by the committee. So, motion to approve Article 5 as written.
Actually, I'm going to ask, does anybody have any questions on the CIP article? This was presented by management back in early March. And I agree with Dan, it's been cut down from the initial request. So any further questions for Dan? No?
Okay, motion to approve Article 5 as written.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? No? All in favor? Okay, 900. Thank you, Dan. Okay, I need my glasses back on. Give me a second. Okay, I think we're now Article 17. Sharon is not here, but I believe Paul
Yep,
is
so I'll
willing to present
present this on behalf of Sharon. So this is the contract with AT&T Singular to use excess capacity in the Department of the Public Safety Building cell tower. So the Board of Selectmen needs our approval to enter into that engagement. And the deal will be, we'll get $3,000 a month with a 2% escalating year over year, and AT&T will pick up all the expenses of doing any work on the actual tower. It seems like a decent deal.
Okay, any questions for Paul? Go ahead.
This is the tower behind the fire station?
Yeah. So they're basically renting excess capacity on it.
I think you said 3,000 and then a 2%.
Yep, the 2% kicker every year.
Yeah. Okay.
Did they find, is there anything a drawback for it? Any negativity to it at all?
No, I mean, they presented here, right? And we kicked it around a little bit, but I don't remember anything negative coming out.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the reason it has to go to town article because it's a revenue thing, it has to go to town meeting for approval.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just say a couple words.
Go ahead, Bill.
Paul's correct. I just want to slightly correct. It's actually $3,200 a year that we will get for that. $3,200 a month, rather. $3,200 a month, which will then, it's about $36,000 a year that we'll get, a little more than that. And then it is a 2% escalator. And the reason why it has to go to town meeting is because it is the use of town property. And so in order for anyone to lease or utilize town property other than the town, it has to get approval by town meeting before the selectmen can enter an agreement to utilize the property. Okay.
Bill, I just want to clarify. I did talk to Chief Kelleher today just to confirm whether it's 3,200 or 3,000 or what the number is. And this afternoon he confirmed it at 3,000. I mean, we can vote to approve it without talking about the dollar amount.
Yeah.
If there's a discrepancy right now.
That was the information I had. I thought from the document that I had read the other day, but I could stand corrected if that's the case.
I mean, we can nail it down by that, because when they presented, I think the number thrown around was 3,600.
Yeah.
So it's just
So we'll
somewhere in that range.
we'll present without the number.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
Go ahead, Tom.
If I ask, I don't know, Bill might know this. Is this use of town property and stuff, is that simple majority or is that a 2/3 vote for this on a town
It's
meeting?
a simple majority, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, hold on. Sharon texted me. Hold on, let me see what she wants. Okay. All right, any further discussion on this article? Have a motion?
Yep.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? I second it.
All right.
Okay, John walked away, so it's 800. Thanks, Paul. Article 18, butterfly farm.
Yeah, so this is a fun one. So there was, when we put in some of the town wells, there was a field of indigo plants that was attractive to a couple of protected butterflies. And so all those plants were moved, right, with some DPW and volunteer work. They're all in a different location. You can actually go look at it if you want. It's just off Lamson Road down Oak Street. But now is the time, as part of the agreement, to move that tract of land over to the Conservation Commission rather than it being owned by the Water Department. So this is essentially to have it being owned by a conservator rather than a functional group.
Okay, any question on this article? Did you check out the place?
I went and looked at it. It's pretty cool. You know, some young lady named Lyra did all these laminated posters with pictures of the butterflies all around it. It was very neat. So it's not in bloom right now, so it looks like a lot of scrub, and in about a month it'll be blooming.
So I hear it's unique because we'll be the only town in the state?
We will be the only town that has its own butterfly habitat, yes.
Sounds like you need a field trip.
There you go.
There you go. EdCom should go measure it,
Yes.
walk around. Go ahead, Jack.
So as I understood it, these two parcels are contiguous and effectively would become one parcel under the management of the Conservation Commission for the preservation of.
18 and 19, 18 and 19.
Oh, yes. That's Tom's item coming up, yes.
Okay.
Whoever assigned them, split them up.
But the other thing I'd note is the water department's still going to maintain the property because it's right there adjacent to it.
Right.
Okay. Any further questions on this Article 18?
I move that we accept it.
Okay, second. Any further discussion? No. All in favor? 900. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before you move on to the next one, I just want to clarify I did go back and look at that agreement. I was able to pull it up, and it is $3,000 per month. So I probably stand corrected, so I apologize for that.
That's okay. I think we will, yeah.
We're going to stop checking right now, and it's going to freeze right there.
Yep.
Right,
We're good, Bill.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So Article 19 we already voted. So next one is Article 20, stretch code. Dennis?
Oh, good. So this got a lot of discussion the last time, so we'll see how we do. So actually, the town of Foxborough has set a goal to become a green community in the state of Massachusetts. Now, 288 cities and towns are already so designated, and contiguous to Foxborough, I believe only Rentham is not designated. So that's the opening part of it. Once you're designated as a green community, the town can apply for energy reduction projects for all town facilities, and these grants and awards are worth about $100,000 per project. Now, to be a green community, you need to meet five criteria: 20% reduction in energy use over 5 years, a fuel efficiency purchase policy needs to be put in place, zoning needs to be put in place for use of solar. That's been done. You need to have an expedited permitting process for renewable energy. That's been done. And the key thing here is at a town meeting, the town has to adopt the stretch energy code. Now, what is the stretch energy code? The key thing here is that it's designed to result in cost-effective construction that is more energy efficient than that built to the base energy code. So that's the key thing here. The stretch code emphasizes quantifiable and measurable energy performance using the HERS rating system and energy rating index as opposed to prescriptive requirements. So you have an energy consultant come in and they look at, the insulation, they look at your windows, they look at all these things, but they never quantifiably say, okay, you started here, we're going to do all of these things, and maybe you can get grants to offset it. We're going to do all of these things, but they don't really quantify, what the outcome is going to be once all of these things have been done. So this stretch energy code allows you to quantify that using the HERS system in the energy rating index. It would apply to all new buildings and residences, whether new construction or renovations. And then it's actually a pretty comprehensive website at the state level that talks about this code, extensively, so you can really get a lot of user-friendly education if you dial it up and look at it. And they've done a lot of studies that show that the investment, whether it's a builder or a consumer, the investment in these improvements in the stretch energy code have generated net positive cash flow from the expenses incurred to comply with the code and the energy savings achieved once you have complied with the code. I can pass something around. I just printed out an example of, maybe we can just pass this around. If it was, wasn't color ink, I would have made copies for everyone. But that's basically it in a nutshell. And I think it's really about becoming a green community, I think, is the overarching goal here. And Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, because I think that's the goal, to really adopt the stretch energy code, is to become a green community, designated as such by the state.
That is correct, Dennis, and thank you for raising that. You're absolutely right. It's interesting because this is probably the one most controversial piece of becoming a green community, is this particular item. I was telling Chris and the chairman that back in Dedham, I think we were one of the first green communities in Massachusetts, and it was controversial back then. It's still controversial today, but the difference between today and back 14 years ago was that this was it's become more almost embedded into the code itself right now as to how things are built, and I think Barry can confirm that, but it really is the way to go in terms of how new buildings are constructed and how they're renovated. So I just it's something that it is an integral component of becoming a green community, and it's something we have to do if we're going to move in that direction.
Bill, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
And the first 2 points I'm interested. One is the town has to achieve a 20% reduction. So I think in 5 years, right? You said.
Yes.
So how are we going to do it, and what kind of additional costs will the town incur? And my second question is, that's a fuel efficiency policy. What does that mean by having more electric cars or hybrid, or how is the town going to accomplish that?
I'm going to let Chris try to address that, because I think he's been working directly with them. But it varies from community to community, and it varies from in terms of the approach that you use based upon where you're at when you start the process. But I'll defer to Chris on this, on how we're going to approach it here in Foxborough.
So first thing, the energy reduction plan. We have a third party coming in. Actually, let's say Wednesday, on Friday. So they're going to do an audit of the town buildings, the largest energy users in town. They're a company that specializes in doing these energy audits, in particular for the stretch code. Once they do that audit, we also have MAPC working with us to do our baseline energy use. So that's something where they've looked at our energy use for all our town buildings for the last 2 years. We're going to use 2020 as our baseline energy use, and MAPC and the audit company are actually going to work together with the town to put that 20% reduction plan together. So we don't have specifics on it yet. It's a plan that's put in place as a goal. If we don't meet it after 5 years, there's no real repercussions from the state on that, but it is a goal that they'll be looking for us to continue to move forward with.
So Chris, if the town doesn't meet the 5-year goal, then I'm just following up on the potential credit you could apply for. So that means the town won't get any benefit.
Well, that was the question that was unclear to me. I know Tom's in line here, but it's really, when do you get the designation as the green community? After the 5 years, or do you get it sooner, as long as you have a plan in place to get there in 5 years?
As long as the plan's in place, we can apply for green community status designation within the state. So our goal is that in the new fiscal year, when they open up the designation applications, we'll put in for it and we'll have met the 5 criteria. So we just have to have the plan in place with the goal of reducing our energy use by 20% in that 5 years.
Go ahead, Tom.
So we'll be able to use and apply for that grant funding once we're designated. And those projects, like Dennis said, up to $100,000 per projects for these grants. And it's money that, as similar to Bill, I was in Westwood before this, and we did that going back at least 10 years ago now. And they're still applying for and receiving grants from the Green Communities program to continue their energy reduction, 10 years out. So it's a program that's been stably funded through the state for a long time now. And we expect to, benefit from that once we get this designation over the summer.
If the clock starts now, do we get any credit for having just redone all of our street lights to the LEDs, energy-saving lights, and for the solar panels we've already got installed here? Or is that already built into the process that we have to get even better than that?
So we'll have to get better than that. We are able to go back, a couple of years and look at our baseline, but where the streetlights were done, 3+ years ago now, it's outside of that window. So we're gonna start with 2020 and go from there.
So that's a savings that we can't utilize for our
Correct.
20% going forward.
Correct.
Great.
Which also means that we have less to reduce. So our baseline energy use includes LED streetlights. So we have that much less to reduce as far as the 20% goal goes.
Okay.
Then would that handicap the town then, because our baseline is lower?
Right.
It shouldn't. Like I said, the company that's coming in to do the audit specializes in this and has been doing this work for well over a decade in all of the towns and a lot of the towns that have been already designated. So we're gonna lean heavily on them to put the plan together.
Mr. Chairman, we're actually starting from a better position than most towns have started this process out. And, we just don't have as much low-hanging fruit as other communities when we start off in this process, because we've done a lot of those things already, so we're in a better position. But, the thing is that having the designation in place is a good thing for the community, but it also, and most importantly, it makes us eligible for more grant funds from the state to do other things that we can do to further reduce the carbon footprint of the town and the community.
Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I'm questioning the selection of 2020 as the baseline year, particularly for the schools, because that certainly was an anomalous year. And why was 2020? Or does it matter?
So working with MAPC, they've actually already pulled all our history from 2019, 2020. And they actually saw that 2020 was a higher use year than 2019 was.
Even in the schools?
Yeah. Really? And it also gives us another year to get to that 20%. If we go back and use 2019 as our baseline, we have to hit that mark a year sooner than if we start it in 2020.
Dennis, can I ask you a question on this thing that you handed out? Where did you get this from? The reason I'm asking is that it talks about a house using gas heat. I know a lot of streets in town do not have natural gas, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, this is just one example. There's
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 is
Okay.
oil heat, and there's, on that, it's on a state website. If you Google stretch energy code in Massachusetts, it'll bring you right to that page.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of literature and links to anything you might want to know about this, really.
Okay.
I think the other thing I would just say, it's entirely consistent with where the country is going with, use of energy and reducing the carbon footprint. And if we don't have a plan, we should have a plan. So this really, I think, requires us in a positive way to develop a plan and to get on board with what we're all going to be dealing with climate change and everything else.
And just to clarify this, so this, call it analysis as far as the cost, will it be shared among just these new buyers or everyone around the town? In that analysis here, who's going to pay that?
Well,
Are you asking about the stretch code or the reduction plan?
The red number, that's the cost.
Well, the cost to the builder, and this one example,
Yeah.
you don't have it in front of you, Chris, is $2,600 for a typical house at this 25, 50 square foot
Okay.
family home. Then that builder gets $1,630 in rebates. So the net cost of the builder is $976. From the home buyer's perspective, this is, a mortgage on the home, a typical mortgage on the home. Change to the down payment is about $97 additional. Change to the annual mortgage payment is about $77 additional. The estimated reduced energy cost per year is $213. So the year one cash flow is $37, the year two cash flow is $135.
So to your point, this only affect the buyer, not meaning of the new home. This is not something that has to be shared among everyone.
Well, if you renovate your house, you have to comply with the new code.
So this
Well, the builder.
Yeah,
Or if you're renovating.
yeah, that's
you do-
it, yeah.
Not all renovations require it, and this gets into more technical stuff than we probably want to get it. So some really minor renovations, you're not going to have to go through this. So certainly significant renovations that affect energy and the energy footprint would probably have to go through the code.
But, I mean, again, like we said the last time we talked about this, a lot of the stuff you're gonna buy at your local Home Depot is gonna meet or be close to these codes anyway.
Right.
So if you're, I have to replace a window or something, you go to do it yourself. Most of the stuff you get at these local, retailers are gonna meet the code or be close to it anyway.
Okay. So to your point, in that instance, we would not have to bear that cost.
If you pull a permit, you do. Because the town will make sure you comply
Right.
with the standards. If you pull a permit.
Okay.
If you do it yourself, fine. Chris and Bill, I mean, I generally, I support green initiatives. If people want to, save money, spend money and save money, that's fine. I just don't want the town to go down this path where you adopt this code and then, we have to spend more money to meet whatever the requirement is from the town side. I'm not talking about the builder. I'm not talking about homeowners doing renovation, but in general, if the town wants to meet the 5-year goal, whatever the 5-year goal is, the next thing you want maybe 5 years from now is the town will say, now we're going to buy a hybrid electric, whatever, Ford 150, and those are more expensive than regular gas. So that's my concern. But generally speaking, fine. If somebody wants us to do green stuff and be energy efficient, that's okay. I just don't want to box the town into a position that, now we have to spend more money.
That really speaks to the issue of the policies that we develop and how well we can truly manage those. And I think that we have to be realistic, and I think Chris will attest to this too, that when we both did this in our previous communities, we were able to write the policies in such a way so they were manageable and realistic. So we didn't end up putting together plans that were just going to be far more expensive than we were before. And with due respect to the construction and facility maintenance and things of that nature, many of the standards that they use nowadays are already compliant with the stretch code, and as such, they don't really impact us in any significant way. There still may be some impacts, and I've heard from some private developers who say that it can be a little bit more expensive and they can raise the cost a little bit, but at the end of the day, you probably make that cost up on the energy savings that you receive from making the building more efficient to begin with. So I think it's something to be said that while you can't just say it's not a one-dimensional argument. It's something that you have to take as a holistic approach. And your points of fair is well taken, but it's all in how we write the policies. And I know that all of us are going to be very conscientious about how we do that, so we don't put the town in a very bad or more costly position.
Dan?
Question for Chris. You might not be able to answer it right off the top of your head, but first, does the Borough School project, would that have met all of the stretch energy code? And if we had enacted this before building that out, how much more would it have cost us?
You're right, I don't have that answer.
I don't have that answer, but I will say this though, Dennis, Dan. I actually did speak with Bill Eukner briefly about this, And he said, a lot of the buildings, a lot of the stuff that even in the current borough school project would have probably met that anyways. So I didn't, as far as any of the specifics of it, I don't have those answers directly, but I can tell you that generally speaking, the standards that they use, and these are standards that are utilized by the SBA, the State Building, the School Building Assistance Bureau. They require that those buildings be efficiently built anyway. So it would surprise me if what was used in those buildings was not already compliant with the stretch energy code.
I would actually agree. I bet that most of it is, but I think a lot of times you see higher costs just to meet certain codes, even if you're already meeting it, especially if you're working through a contractor, you say we need to meet this code, well, the price goes up. That's just the way it is. And I was thinking more along the lines of, would that have cost the town an extra $500,000 in costs into the building? And I was just wondering through that. I would agree that, probably 99% of that building is going to meet this code regardless.
The question I have then for you, Bill, is if this passes now, they can't go back to the borough school and redo any plans, and if that's done.
No, that's right. That's right. We wouldn't do anything retrospectively in that regard. No.
Go ahead, Bernard.
Yeah, so Bill, this is an argument question, but just thinking about, let's say, folks who may have older homes in town, and could that be, let's call it a counter argument in their part? Let's say that they would want to sell their homes, and anybody who would want to buy would further depress the home value in terms of here's what they would have to do in terms of renovation. Again, I'm just thinking a bit selfishly for people who own their home for a long time, and that may be a detriment to them in terms of whatever they are worth in terms of selling, but someone would discount it in terms of what they would have to do in terms of, if you see what I mean, in terms of bringing it up to good.
Well, the house itself, when you sell a house, it doesn't automatically have to be brought up to code because it's already compliant with the code. That when the building was built, I see Barry shaking his head. So what would happen in those cases is that it'd be difficult to depreciate the value of the house based on that because all you're doing is anticipating what the work will be going forward. And I think what will happen there, Bernard, is that in many cases, and I had to do it with my own home when I bought it here in Seekonk, was that when I first bought it, I had to replace the windows because the windows just weren't energy efficient. But so what I did was I replaced them with all energy efficient windows and actually drove my heating costs down because of it. So it's something that pays for itself over time. So yeah, there is maybe a little bit more upfront cost, but it does save in terms of the energy efficiency going forward.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Okay, any further questions for anyone?
The two comments I have are existing homes would be very difficult to meet this even if you upgrade and add everything. Just the new construction, they're making thicker walls. The only way to make thicker walls are to knock down your existing walls and rebuild them. And then, Dennis, I like your graph you brought in, but given the rapid price changes, anything from 2017, I'd say those numbers are not numbers that we should rely on at this point. The cost of lumber has doubled in the last year, so it's, you talk about appliances, you talk about different utilities inside the house. The big thing is you go from a wall this thick to a wall that thick, and that does make a difference in the cost of the lumber.
So to that, and this kind of goes back to, if I can just kind of confirm Dennis's numbers. I reached out to a local builder in Foxborough resident, currently building one of the subdivisions on East Belcher Road, to ask him this question. How much extra does it cost? And if you're in a town that doesn't have the stretch code, are you changing the building and all the house? So he firmly stated that he doesn't change his design, he doesn't change his build. He builds the same house, whether it's in Foxborough without the stretch code or Mansfield with the stretch code. And then he also referred us to his HERS rater, who detailed out that, to get the HERS rating to meet the stretch code and all the extra work that goes into it is probably $3,000 to $4,000 on a $600,000 house. So Dennis is, showing numbers of $2,700. This is, as of a month ago after we met and presented this the last time, the HERS rater has thrown out a number of $3,000 to $4,000 to meet the stretch code. And 500 of that is the actual HERS rater to come out and actually do the rating process.
Chris, I did forward the email that you got I think when you spoke to the builder, you forwarded an email. I think everybody got it.
I'm not looking to become the Foxborough champion of the stretch energy code. But from my own experience building houses recently, there's a huge difference in energy costs between the 92% gas furnace and a 96% gas furnace. That's where the savings are. And going from a water tank to heat your water to a tankless water heating ability, huge energy savings doing that. Plus, you never have to worry about your tank falling apart and getting a flood, as I've gone through. Probably all have gone through that.
Yeah, right.
So, it's not just about windows and insulation. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can really, decrease the carbon footprint and really save a lot of energy while you're at it, particularly for new construction. And if it's a renovation and it involves the furnace, it involves other things, then that's part of it. But certainly for new construction.
A couple of things I want to add. I think Dan and maybe John already said it before. Pretty much anything you buy at Home Depot, it's pretty much energy efficient these days. So having said that, when I replaced my burner, there was a huge credit. If you choose this one, I basically got the tank for free.
Right.
Once I paid for it, I got $900 back. So it's already happening. My concern is it's going to happen eventually. It's just like seat belts. I mean, 30 years ago, cars had no seat belts. It suddenly became mandatory and every car has it. So at some point, everything is going to be energy efficient. So I know we're heading that way. I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to talk it down, but I'm just saying eventually it's going to happen. But I'm just concerned about the additional costs we have to do once we box ourselves into this code. Tom?
We're talking all about this cost and stuff. As far as the warrant article is concerned about us becoming this certified town, is there, in the end run after 5 years, are there any penalties or detractions or anything, givebacks, if we don't match up to the 20% threshold? Because, this doesn't sound like it's a financial warrant article we're voting on here. We're talking about being a part of a program that can afford maybe consumers or sellers or like that, or builders, certain credits and certain privileges. But in the end, does the town suffer anything if we don't match up to that threshold, or if we put on probation for something, or do we have to go back and surcharge people for doing stuff that was allowed for under the 5-year plan of being able to get up to that level?
I haven't seen anybody, if they have not met it, be penalized by the state on that. And this is something that we've been working with the Green Communities agency through the state and their rep, going back over a year now on this, and they're aware that, our facilities group in town has done great things to upgrade boilers and air handling units, and we've made those changes, and there was some resistance to this at first that, we've already done a lot of this work, so how are we going to get that 20%? But that 20% includes everything that we could do, including, the fuel efficient vehicle policy, so that we're buying, and again, a lot of the vehicles we already buy will meet that policy, to reduce energy that way. So there are other things that we can do, on top of just changing out boilers or air handling units and buying fuel efficient vehicles to get up to that 20%. And really they're looking for, a plan for 15% with the goal of 20, is really what they're looking for.
So my understanding is that there's no real, we'll gain a benefit just by attempting and trying and changing our policies of what we purchase going forward in 5 years. There's no real detraction there, but there's no penalty at the end if we don't actually meet up to those goals.
No, no,
There still
I
may
haven't
be,
seen
and
a
there may be a
penalty on it.
lingering benefit beyond that for what we've already invested in.
Then you can say you can make motions.
All right.
I'm going to pick myself here while these guys are conferring. So Chris, when we talked about this last week, just so I'm clear, we'll have to meet these goals here to get the grants though, right? You talked about potentially getting access to grants if we qualify?
So, yeah, so in order to be designated a green community and actually apply for these grants, we need to meet those 5 criteria.
Okay.
So two of those 5 we already meet. You know, this adopting the stretch energy code is the 3rd. The reduction plan, having the plan, is the 4th. And then the 5th is that fuel efficient vehicle policy.
Yep.
And what that does and the way we'll write that, it's pretty specific. The state has that set out, what that should look like. But it's, you know, SUVs, small pickups, sedans will have to meet a certain miles per gallon, combined highway city, you know, under that. And that's something that'll be adopted by the Board of Selectmen, and the school committee will adopt that as well.
Does the police department need to upgrade their vehicles?
So emergency vehicles are exempt. So police, fire, and even the larger trucks for the DPW are all excluded over a certain, I think it's 8,500 pounds that are all excluded from that policy.
Okay, any further discussion on this article? Okay, Dennis, you want to make a motion?
Move to recommend approval of the stretch energy code.
Second? Okay, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oppose? Abstain? Okay. So it's 6, 2, and 0. 6, 2, and 1, sorry. Can't do math. Okay, next article is, Article 27. Dan?
26?
20, see, I'm losing it tonight. Article 26.
Just slide your whole page down one, Larry. It'll
I
work.
know, jeez.
All right, so I've already had Sue's comments earlier. Articles 26 is to move the town from the current arrangement for the CIP committee to a proposed CIP committee consisting of a little bit of a different arrangement. Did everyone get the letter I sent out earlier? I wanted everybody to have the opportunity to kind of read that. Again, that went through, Larry had the chance to review it, as did Shelby. So the purpose of this citizen's petition is to remove section 35-4H of the town bylaws and create a new article, Article 10, under Foxborough Code Part 1, Administrative Legislation, Chapter 20, Finances, in order to restructure the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. One quick note that is not in here, the reason for the change in location of this code is that Section 35.4 is under the purview of the selectmen, so they moved it to Chapter 20, which is finances, so that it's in a whole nother section. CIP committee is responsible for evaluating capital projects or purchases, including but not limited to major non-recurring tangible assets and vehicles or equipment costing over $25,000, purchased at intervals of not less than 5 years and having a useful life of at least 5 years. As currently outlined in Section 35.4H, the CIP committee is comprised of the town manager, the director of public works, the advisory committee chairman, the school business administrator, and the finance director. The proposal under consideration seeks to replace these existing members with 5 appointed voting members, all of whom would be registered voters in Foxborough, as follows. 2 members to be appointed by the town moderator, 1 by the school committee, 1 by the board of selectmen, and 1 by the board of water and sewer commissioners. None of these voting members would be permitted to be employed by the town of Foxborough in any capacity. One thing that this next sentence I think is important is that these appointed members could be members of the nominating party. The selectmen could choose to nominate their chair or any of the selectmen. The town moderator could choose to nominate anyone off the advisory committee or any other appointed area, and I think that was something that wasn't necessarily made clear in our first review. The appointments will be for 3 years. However, the terms of the initial appointees would be staged so that committee members would rotate off in a staggered fashion, with all member terms beginning on July 1st, 2021. Members would be limited to 3 consecutive terms, and any vacancies which may arise would be filled by the original nominating party. The town finance director, town manager, and school superintendent would remain as committee members, but in ex officio, non-voting roles. If enacted, the citizens' petition outlines the following procedure for evaluating proposed capital expenditures. The following 3 paragraphs are word for word from the code we have now, so I'm not going to go ahead and read all those. So Article 26, this article does not yet reflect the fact that in addition to the additional language being added to Chapter 20, there needs to be a subsequent removal of language in 35.4H. I spoke with Shelby today. She spoke with Frank Spillane, and since it is a citizen's position, we cannot change it before town meeting, and neither can she. It needs to go as is. There can be a motion on the floor and a vote to amend during town meeting, but they realized, I brought that issue up, they had actually already realized it, so they were working already to figure out a way that they could, when they're adding code in Article 20, they need to remove the same language out of 35.4H. There is one more sentence that will be proposed to be removed, and that is the sentence regarding the conflict of interest. That Shelby informed me today that there will be a motion to amend to remove that sentence during town meeting. She informed me that Frank Spillane did say that AdCom could vote on the proposed amendments now and have a supplemental write-up. I'm not sure if we want to do that. I actually think we don't. I think we want to vote it as is. But just so you know, those changes will be going in front of town meeting, and I think we should expect them that they'll be moved that way. So that's the general understandings. And before I kind of give a little spiel on it, does anybody have any questions? Is there anything that was, not specific enough in the write-up?
So then just to make it clear, so basically the way the article is being presented now is how you would actually write it up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But then it will open up for all these.
There will be 2 changes to the article, as far as is my understanding.
Okay.
But now, the way it works is, excuse me, it's a citizen petition, so we cannot make changes. Only the citizen or people at the town meeting can get on the floor and
But
make
who's
the
going to
changes.
propose those changes?
That's not us. That's got to be
Right, and that's
whoever.
why I don't think, that's why I don't
We
think
are
we
not.
should
We
do that here.
Correct. We are going to vote this article as written, as is. A couple of things I want to say is that we are on AdCom, so we really have to vote yes, no. Chance, you can abstain. Usually you want to abstain is when you have a conflict of interest. You are either, I forgot about Brian completely. About a month ago, when Brian asked the question, just remember, Brian signed a petition. He wasn't the sponsor or the people behind this article, but he should have indicated that I signed the article, and that's about it. So, but if you have a conflict, or if you if let's say Tom is behind this article, he's with Shelby, then tonight he has to abstain. In fact, he shouldn't be participating in the discussion. Just excuse yourself. So usually when AdCom takes a pass on the article, is usually you have something involved. That's okay. Once in a while you can do that. I should have clarified, but I didn't do it earlier. But so tonight you can vote yes, you can vote no. That's why I made the comment at the start of the meeting. At a town meeting, if the argument or someone makes a compelling argument for or against this article, and you want to change your mind, no one's going to hold you to it. Go ahead, Dennis.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, when I read this, it kind of hits me as a solution looking for a problem, you know? And so that's a concern. And I don't know if it's appropriate or not. I'd like to hear from the town manager, if he can speak to it.
Absolutely, but I
His
think,
view of this petition, because I think that would be really critical.
absolutely, but I think at this point, Bill, if you can just hold on a few minutes, we'll have
And
to,
I
yeah.
just, my last point is that the other overarching concern I have is that this actually, I think, dilutes the authority of the advisory committee. I think the advisory committee does everything, and I get it, that it ultimately comes to the advisory committee, because I did read it. But I do think it takes away the authority of top management to really manage what comes, before them from all the department directors and people that really have competing requests. Top management then is kind of cut out of that process, the way this is going to work.
I think your first half, what you said, the first half is probably correct, but the second half, AdCom is still the last step.
It is the last step, but I think there's another body that has
Board of Selectmen is the
very
middle.
significant influence in the overall process, is the way I read this. And I think that's the intent, actually. Otherwise, why would we be making these changes? But I'd like to hear from, the town manager.
I just have a question, sir. On your first point, could you perhaps elaborate on terms that this is a solution looking for a problem? I mean, I didn't, what did you mean?
What actually has been the problem that has given rise to the citizens petition? There must have been some things that really have got people upset about the current process. They really want to have, these kinds of revisions, so it's sort of like, I just really haven't heard, what is the real problem that this is trying to solve? What's the underlying problem?
I've been on the committee once before, subbing in for our chair who couldn't do it, and watched previous ones and studying for it. There's been a concern, or that there had been a concern before, because it's been brought up before 3 years ago, that there have been times where the CIP committee has met and there hasn't been as much of a decisiveness in cutting or holding back on spending. There have been times where everything that was proposed has been put through, and seemingly because there was enough money there, we'll spend it now. And there was always there's people who had concerns saying that, if the climate is right and there's all that money there, we'll just spend it, rather than looking at it saying, is this really need to be spent at this time in place? This is the right time for this. Just because we have it, do we need to do that? And it's not against anybody specifically who's been driving it or person who's setting it up or who's on the committee so much as, is there enough eyes from the taxpayers in there saying, is this how you want to spend all of our money right here and now? Just because it's there, there are times where, granted, several items have been chopped out because there wasn't enough money there, but there have been times where there's been more than what was requested and everything flowed through. And I think that was one of the driving.
So then it got past the advisory committee too then, in those instances.
Yes, and I think, not my personal opinion, this is me speaking with other people, I think the response to that was that the member of the advisory committee that was on that board came back and said this is in the best interest of the town, and there wasn't, they felt, enough discussion on the advisory committee either to really, back that. And I don't know if maybe they would have been more comfortable if we spent 3 meetings, and I don't mean we, I mean the board, if we spent 3 meetings, working through it. I can't answer that question, but I do know that there was concerns there that, the chairman of the advisory committee comes back and says, I've discussed this with the important people in the town, and this is what's best. And then there maybe was not enough discussion surrounding that. And I wasn't part of that. I'm just saying, based on my discussions with the people that, are moving this, that's their view.
So can I ask then, because I'll be able to only say this probably for a little bit longer, that being my first year on, but I felt the same thing. What is the history? has there been a concern? Has there been spending that has not gone check and they just felt it got a rubber stamp and went through and that they need to bring this on? So I was almost wondering, almost seemed like the last time we heard from this woman, Shelby, almost I need some specifics. Like what out there has been examples? It almost seems like there's a black wave that's been out there and the people are talking around it. I'll say what? Actually,
Yep. I think to use two examples, the school bus and the instruments. These are things that we have started to kind of kick the can down the road because there's not a whole ton of free cash available right now. And maybe if we had been a little more, conservative in our finances, these would not be issues that we'd have right now. I can't speak to that, whether that's correct or not, but I can say that those are some of the reasons behind that specific question.
Well, I just want to clarify on the school buses. Bill, you're going to ask for 4 buses. We
Right.
funded 3. The last one was approved pending money from the stimulus, which we have. So the way I see it now, at least one of the buses will be paid by the stimulus fund.
Right, but I think
getting all 4.
the point behind that, if you follow it, is that now we're starting to get a little more conservative on things that we need because we spent things on maybe that we could have pared down before. And I think another thing that was brought up is, are there other alternatives? And by no means am I saying that Bill Euclid does not do a very, very thorough job in researching these things. But, are we burning miles on buses when we can use something different in the afternoon for after school or whatever? And I can guarantee you Bill Euclid has looked into all of these things, but I think it's not as open as a discussion as we have in this forum here.
I'll let Jack ask his question, and then Bill, you can address Dennis' question for you.
The concern I have is, I go back to what was the motivation in bringing this forward, and I get the sense that there's a distrust of the management in the town, and that bothers me. If we don't trust the managers, you replace them. What we have now is a system where some of the CIP committee might not be residents. Some of them are employees, but after that, it goes through the Board of Selectmen and the Advisory Committee. So it's not clear to me what problem we're solving, which goes back to what Dennis asked a few minutes ago. Where's the problem? The problem, if it's distrust of the management, you should say so.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think that if we trusted the management implicitly, then we wouldn't need to be here, I think would be my response to that. I don't think we do, and I'm not saying that. I think we do need to be here. We have value.
Just maybe before Bill's point, it goes back to, I think, at the time of the presentation by the citizen, my point was, like everything else, everything should be supported by data, meaning how much more wasted money has potentially happened by having this current structure. So I think it goes back to a lot of what we were saying, because it's all about the dollars and cents. To me, the real decision would be to see, for the past 5 years, have we wasted $1 more by having the current structure, or have we wasted? If we were to establish that currency, would we be saving more? In other words, I still cannot quantify really what we would be saving. Now, with that said, it just so happened that because this year is somewhat peculiar with the pandemic, it's further enhancing this issue, right? Because we all know, again, perception reality is reality. When times are good, it's not as pressing, even though there is a pressure of wasting money. But when times are difficult like now, so I go back to really, at the end of the day, the money being approved by CIP, how much of it would have been perceived as wasted? And I still, that's probably where I'm coming from. But again, it goes back to what all of us were saying. Thank you, Larry.
Bill, would you like to address AdCom?
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. And, it's interesting. I've not had this discussion with Dennis or with Jack or with anybody on the committee. I think I did speak briefly to you today, saying that I would probably say a few words about this today, Mr. Chairman, but that was it.
Yep.
And I think the question that came to my mind was exactly what you just asked, and what's the issue we're trying to fix here? Because I've been doing this. This is I think it's my 7th or 8th plan that I've submitted, and I've yet to have a single. I don't know if anything's been changed in the 8 plans that have been submitted, and the process goes exactly the way it goes in terms of the budget. The town manager presents a budget. It goes to the Board of Selectmen. It then gets submitted to the AdCom, and then goes to town meeting. The capital plan gets reviewed by the committee, and then submitted by the town manager to the Board of Selectmen and to the advisory committee, and then to town meeting. So even in the capital plan, there's a committee that makes this decision, not just the town manager. So there's already a review process that's built into it. So any decisions that are made by the committee is not made entirely by one individual. The town manager doesn't take the plan that's presented, that's his plan. It's the position that comes from the committee itself. Now, with due respect to, I think, the data points that Bernard was speaking to, I can't see, I don't know of a single instance where there's been displeasure about the plan that's been presented. In fact, it's usually get presented there and are approved unanimously by all boards. I think there was concern expressed earlier that maybe there's a distrust of manager. I don't know what that is, to be honest with you, because and I agree with Jack. If you trust the manager, get rid of the manager. I'll be the first person to say that, but I don't see that happening. It may be from a few people that disagree with the way things are done, but I think it's a case where. It troubles me that the process was just put forward without any kind of discussion or input, either through the administration or through any committees before it got to the town meeting. I think if that had been done, the several changes that are being proposed that have to be made at town meeting could have been addressed through that process, and it would be a less clumsy process in terms of doing that. So, I've looked at this proposal. Okay, at the end of the day, if the town wants to do something differently, do it differently. But here's the concerns I have. One is the fact that the town manager is required by the charter to submit a capital plan. Required. I'm the only person that's required to do that, not anyone else. So it says I have to do it in a 5-year plan, by the way, that has to be submitted, not just a 1-year plan. So this process that's being proposed is not going to change any of that. I'm still going to have to do that because the charter requires that. The second thing that I think is important is the fact that that the people who've been involved in this process, the school superintendent, the town manager, the DPW director, and we've had 2 DPW directors, by the way. Roger Hill did it for a number of years, and now most recently Chris has taken over. And then the chairmans of both, either the chairman or a member of the advisory committee or a member of the Board of Selectmen have served in this capacity. That's a pretty good check and balance, because at the end of the day, those folks are really the representatives of the community that are saying, you know what, this is what's important, this is what's not. And Chris is actually a resident of the community, as was Roger Hill. I think the only people who are non-residents are the superintendent and myself. And I think that, and even the comments that were made earlier says that, I'm supposed to be the person who's the so-called expert in this process. And now, based upon this proposal, I'm left out of the process, other than just serving in an advisory capacity. So I think that really the idea behind all this was to put together a plan that has a checks and balances built right into it already. And I don't see where the current system has been flawed or has not worked in anybody's advantage. With due respect to the money that's being spent and the challenges, last year was COVID year. That's why we took the buses out. We could have paid for the buses last year. We were ready to do that. But we took the buses out because we were worried about what we didn't know at the time about where we were with our finances overall and how we were going to be impacted. So we took that money out, but then we put it back in this year. We prioritized it because we knew it was important. So I think all those things have been taken into consideration during the whole process. I just wish that, that was all taken into consideration when this whole thing was put forward. That's just my, probably longer-winded than I should have been, but I try to cover all the points that I wanted to make. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, I think Bill makes a lot of good points. I think a lot of the things that I talked about with Larry, I think apply here, that this was not a good year or climate to propose this article. I generally, I think this is a good thing. I think this is very poor timing. I don't think, like you said, Bernard, there's not a lot of data to back that up, and especially if you look at the last 2 years, the committee's been pretty conservative in what they, only getting exactly what they needed. And, I actually made this point with Paul, same thing with the budget, right? Not that, we have not done our due diligence, but, I remember Jack and I going toe-to-toe with Bill last year about a couple items that we thought didn't need to be on there. And this year, there weren't that many things that we could even nitpick out of the budget in terms of saying, we're not sure you really need this because, to be frank, nobody was stupid enough to put anything in the budget that wasn't necessary, right? So I think this was probably not the best year to propose this article. I think the people behind this article probably want a little more of an open process. I think, one thing that I discussed with them was somebody said something to the effect of, well, we don't even have a 5-year plan. And I said, that's not true. And they said, well, where is it? We don't see that. And I said, we have that in the advisory committee. If you watch the advisory committee meeting, it's on the screen, it's part of the presentation. And I think maybe that would be something that if was presented a little more openly to the town might have prevented a little more of this. And again, I don't think necessarily that it's the case that the CIP committee or the town manager or anybody or George is hiding this. I think it's just probably not as open of a process as the advisory committee is in the budget. Again, the point I was trying to make about the committees being able to nominate one of their own members was that I'd imagine that's exactly what's going to happen, right? So the makeup of the committee will basically just be removing the town manager to that effect in some way or form, because you're representing the same groups that they're representing now, right? So, I think really what this comes down to is that specific change.
And also the finance director?
Correct,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
The finance director is not part of the committee
He's
now.
not-
Okay,
he's not-
He's not part of it
a
anyways,
voting
no.
member.
He just prepares it all.
Got it, okay.
So I think, one point that we talked about, and I think maybe Sue brought it. Oh yeah, Sue stole my point. Was that I go to Bethany Church, and we had we're moving from one pastor to the next. We had an interim, and the interim pastor said, you need to make decisions on this, this, and this. And we said, why? Why do we need to come out with an official this? And he said, well, the new pastor coming in needs to know what he's getting into. And it's something that I've talked about for this specific situation as well. And I think it's something we should consider is that, Bill, you look 40, but I don't know how many years you have left in government. So,
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it.
He wants something, watch out.
This is something that,
needs glasses.
this is something that we might want to consider looking at from a different perspective, which is this something that, we want to come up after a new town manager is in place? Is this something we want to get done before then? And I have one final point, and then I'll cede the floor. It's one thing that I've talked about with Bernard and Larry and Paul and Tom is that at some point we're going to hit the 100 million mark. It's a given. It's going to happen. And I've heard a couple people
No matter how
joke.
hard we push.
I've heard a
yes.
couple people joke to say, well, I'm not going to be on the board when that happens, right? I would imagine that the, I don't want to say uproar, but the concern of the town, when that happens, I would expect changes to be made. And to be honest, I would expect to see this, not this warrant article, but this idea be pushed through at that point. So, you know, I'm kind of looking ahead, and I do see this coming in the future. I would rather kind of have a handle on it while I'm kind of part of this now. And I am going to support this. And, you know, we'll see where it goes. So, if anybody has anything that maybe I misspoke on, but, you know.
No, I just want to comment on some of the things you said, because I do agree it is going to come, and it was interesting. If you go to the internet and type in Capital Planning Committee Massachusetts, the websites of all the planning committees around the state pop up. You can read as many as you want. I went through like 25 of them. And Shelby's right, there is nothing that looks like this, the current status. On the other hand, there isn't a ton that looks like the new version either. What you mostly see is committees comprised of either members of other committees. So you might have one AdCom, right, one school board, and so on, that, or people purely picked by the town moderator, like 5 of them. And then I saw one that had 10 that had 5 of each. But the point is, if this does come down the line, I might figure out whether that's also a model that works.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just interject a couple thoughts, and by the way, Dan, I'm going to retire in 2 years, so I'm older than I look.
42 then. All right.
But I just wanted to say that I think there's a relatively simple way to address this, and I just wish that people would give this consideration. If they want more participation from the public in this process, and again, I'm not opposed to that. It's just that I think that maybe you take and add 2 more residents to the committee, and then allow that to be a 7-person committee instead of a 5-person committee. But I think it's important to have the people that are on there weigh in to that process, because what happens by doing that is that, and I think if you ask a guy like Bill Euclid, who's been on the committee for a lot longer than I have, obviously he's not really on the committee. He just presents in front of the committee. He says it time and time again, and I think Chris has seen this, and I've seen it, and anybody who's been in town for long enough has seen this, that the people who are the most knowledgeable about the operations itself and know what needs to be replaced are the members that serve in that committee. And that's why it's important for them to participate. What's even more important is that we work on trying to resolve it in the best interest of the entire community by working amongst the committee members itself and those that are participating in the process to find out how we can balance the needs that are being asked for by the various departments. We can't possibly pay for everything that comes in front of the committee every single year. It doesn't work that way. And in due respect to what Tom said earlier, there were years we had some extra money to do that, and so those were the good years to do that. As things get thinner, obviously, we took the time to not to really pare those lists down. But then all we're doing at that point is just deferring the problem. So I think that's important that those things don't go away. It means we just don't get to pay from this year, which also means it becomes more expensive as we look at it down the road. So I think it's really important that you keep those things in perspective. And you're right. At some point, it's by virtue of the world in which we live in, things become more expensive and budgets become more expensive, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But to the extent that we've managed things properly, this is the 3rd time we've been rated as a AAA community. We must be doing something right if that happens. So I think it's clearly the process is a good one. I just wish that if we took the time, and I would even advocate that if people want to look at this process again after this, if this isn't successful at town meeting, I'll be the first one to say, look, let's sit down and figure out a process that seems better, and if people can live with. Because it's not that I'm opposed to a change. I just think that the process that's being proposed is flawed and should be looked at further. And maybe there's better ways to do it. Perhaps looking at the various models that are out there that Paul has referred to in his comments. Thank you, Mr.
Tom, do you have a comment so we can move on?
Yes, thank you, Bill. And my experience or my time over the 12 years being on this board, having served on the CIP, and from the legacy in this town, I was here with the person who was named this room, as well as the interim. Prior to Bill taking over the reins here, we had a couple of years of maybe pandemonium, maybe not so craziness, but there was some inconsistency and some trepidation on behalf of the taxpayers here. And, we have the opportunity here now with 2 years to go before Bill we have a permit to replace Bill. We have no idea who that will be, to what capacity they will be able to serve in that capacity. And this may be an opportunity to, give the town some type of, a hedge against that. Like you said, you have maybe bringing somebody in from who's worked under different type of auspices for this type of a committee. I just think that there may be, I don't think that was maybe the primary or even the tertiary concern with this committee, but the fact that we will have a change in administration here may lend some credibility to at least looking at, and as Bill said, possibly looking at a future change to this type of format. So,
Okay. Dan?
John, yes, I had three things I wanted to ask on and see if I could get a clarification. I see sometimes in towns there's people who get appointed to things and then never show up to a meeting. And I assume,
No, really?
Yeah, really. So I assume with our committee, either the moderator or the board of selectmen, if we say, hey, this guy hasn't shown up for 10 meetings, get rid of him. How does that work when we have 5 different people appointing, people on this committee? Is there?
Well, as I said to Shelby early on, the school committee is going to appoint someone who is going to advocate for them.
Right.
DPW going to appoint someone who is going to be on their side. So those people.
DPW is not appointing anyone. The board of Water and Sewer is, right?
Well, yeah. But you're right.
So you'll have. So that's one other thing I have is DPW director is being taken out and kind of substituted for the Board of Water.
Well, it all depends. That's the confusion I'm getting. Initially was, are they town employees or do they live in town? And there was a lot of, wishy-washy. I didn't have
They cannot be an employee of the town.
Okay.
Is what I got from Shelby. That's
the final version. The final version.
Yes.
Yeah, because earlier, if I believe, it was asked, well, if Bill lives in town, is that okay? And the answer was yes. So I'm just trying to clarify
So
what it is.
they need to live in town, and they cannot be a town employee. The reason I know that is I asked, if you're appointed to a different board, can you still be appointed to this one? And the answer was that's fine.
Okay.
Well, what you have is
Yes or no?
That if say you're appointed to the advisory committee or appointed to another board, you can also still be appointed to the CIP committee.
Okay.
Dan, we're voting on the article as written, I believe, not what might be amended on the floor.
No, that's in the article as written.
That
That is in the
particular-
article
yeah,
as
that one
written.
is,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So my concern was if you take the DPW director out and kind of substitute him for the Board of Water and Sewer, maybe you don't as necessarily have a great advocate for
I disagree.
roadways.
The committee that's tasked to appoint the people, going to appoint people, going to advocate for them.
That's right.
They're not going to put, I'm just making it, they're going to put Tom in DPW and Tom, I'm not saying you are, but let's say you don't like DPW. So, anything they want, you're going to vote it down. That's not going to happen. So, school is going to put their people, every department's going to put their people.
But what I read was that the Water and Sewer Board is the one making the appointment.
John, is your point that, say, roads wouldn't be as represented as they
Correct,
are in the
that's
current?
exactly what I'm
Okay.
saying. So Water and Sewer is now stepping in place of DPW director to appoint a person, and they are not going to be as concerned with the roadways as,
Well, technically, Chris is also the DPW director, so I think whoever they
They're going to appoint
no,
their own
Larry,
surrogate.
I know what you're saying.
the
Yeah.
DPW director is not appointing anyone.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
and then the last thing I had was, in here it says that no article can go in front of town meeting without being voted on by this new committee. Is there anything?
But it's the same right now because the
correct.
CIP committee has to pass the. I just want to.
That language is directly out of what we have in.
Right. Right.
So-
They just copied the existing
So
structure.
Is there anything requiring this committee to take the votes and move forward? In other words, can someone sit on the vote and not do the vote?
What do you mean? Oh, you mean the proposed CIP committee?
Yeah, the proposed CIP,
They are supposed to review and come up with a plan and pass the bill and kick, if it's passed, then kick it to the Board of Selectmen,
Yeah.
and then the Board of Selectmen go yay and nay, and then kicks it to AdCom. So step 2 and step 3 is the same. Step 1 is just a different committee members.
So are you saying, are you
Chairman, I
asking
can help
if,
with that question. I can help with that
if
response.
somebody
because they-
decides to basically, somebody that is
Right.
now on the board decides to impede the vote so that it
Correct. No,
can't go
don't
to
take a
town
vote.
meeting?
Correct.
Why would that benefit anyone?
Oh, yeah, how would they benefit from that? But remember, if you just won and the other committee, 4 or 5 members vote against you, it's 4-1, you still lose.
So if the people appointed on this decide they don't want something to go forward, instead of saying no and it be a recommendation, they just don't take a vote. Under the language in this, it can't go to the town meeting.
If it's only one person, who cares? The other 4 members
Well,
gonna
no,
vote
so you're
yes.
saying if
They
the
all come
majority
together.
of them decide
Right.
they don't like what's in there,
This language, oh, we're not gonna vote on this, it can't go to town meeting. So if three out of 5 people wanna do no,
Then all the departments will not get their trucks, whatever they want. So they'll get the
they
repercussion
would
back
get,
the other way.
I mean, I assume that the people nominating them would recommend that they
Yeah,
be
the
replaced.
selectmen will be getting calls. What do you mean we're not getting whatever,
I
a new
don't-
school bus, whatever?
I don't see that happening. I think procedurally,
Yeah.
the way I understand it, you may be correct.
Yeah.
But
Politically, I don't think it's gonna happen.
yeah, I don't think that we would make it to that point. I think
Yeah.
there would probably be,
They would probably suspend the CIP meeting for
Yeah.
that day and then come back when things
With-
get sorted
yeah.
out.
so
Agree,
in
right,
essence,
yeah.
this is just kind of another AdCom in a different part of town, then.
Correct.
That's all it is.
Bill,
Mr.
Bill,
Chairman,
you want to say
The
something?
reason why the process works right now is because, first of all, the town manager is required to submit a plan to the selectmen. So the way the current system works, even though it's written the way it is that it's worked well because the town manager has worked with the committee to get this plan in place. So if that committee sort of stonewalled and didn't want to put together a plan, the town manager would submit one anyways to the selectmen for consideration, which would then go to the AdCom and then to town meeting. But if the town manager is out of the process now, the concern I have is that the town manager still has to submit a plan. So whether it's me or someone else into the future, the way it's currently written in the charter, the town manager has to submit a plan, and then this committee would submit its own plan. So you're going to submit effectively 2 plans at that point. And so which plans should be accepted? So the way it currently works, it's actually one plan that gets submitted. And so if you cut the town manager out of the process, it actually is a problem because of the way the current charter is written. And the charter doesn't get changed by town meeting; it's changed by the town electorate.
I
So it's a much
believe you're
stronger
still
document in that
on the committee, but you're a non-voting member. It would still be the
Right,
same
so-
plan, you're just a non-voting
Yeah.
member.
Exactly, but it's still not. Then it wouldn't be really the plan of the town manager. It would be the
Correct.
committee's.
Correct,
I
correct.
think that's what they
Correct.
want.
I think that's the
I'm not saying
intent, yeah.
that's right or wrong. I think that,
John,
You're right,
But my
yes.
point is that
John,
that can't
I don't have
be
any more
changed
questions.
unilaterally by town meeting. Town meeting cannot change that provision unilaterally. The way it's currently set up is that it's one plan because the town manager works with the existing committee to do that because he serves on the committee. All right, but if you take the town manager out of the committee, it can't function. It'll be functioning as 2 committees, two.
Bill, I don't think that's correct. I think you will still be the committee. You just don't get to vote if this new plan pass. I mean, but if we can talk about the town manager charter and everything else. I hear what you're saying, but the plan as the intention of this citizens petition is to remove basically you and some of the town employees off the CIP committee as voting members, but your advice and your guidance and counsel will still be included. I just want to, I think and if we could go on, but
same thing with the budget here.
What?
Right? It's the same thing with the budget here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's what.
I
that's
really
what-
don't.
yeah.
So, clearly, there's a problem here that needs to be fixed. I personally don't think this petition is the way to go about fixing it, because it's so sweeping in its change. And I worry about, there's no perfect system, So I worry about unintended consequences. You know, when you go from one system to another system, and you really haven't gone through a process to really say, what are the problems we're trying to solve
I
here?
think Dennis, you have a point. I think I've heard you advocating for your position. So my point is, tonight, really our position is, are we going to support this article or not? But before we take a vote, I just want to make a few comments. You know, having been involved in the CIP committee this year, I'll tell you right now, the process works. Is it perfect? No. Can we improve? Absolutely. Honestly, I wish both sides could get together and work it out instead of now trying, Bill is going to advocate his position. That's his job. The other group is going to push for it. Maybe somewhere in the middle, something might work. But, I mean, I'm not the moderator. I'm not going to have both sides sit down and talk to me. At this point, I'm saying vote yes, vote no. Let the town voters decide. What AdCom recommends or not, it's still going to go to the town meeting for vote. So my point is, I hear your point. In fact, I hear all sides, and I know there are merits on both sides. Absolutely. Shelby's point, yes, some of them has merits. Bill's position, absolutely. And the merits all around. But at the end of the day, as committee, are you going to support this article or not?
Mr. Chairman, it's really important that you understand my position on this, is that I am not opposed to change, and I'm not opposed to having a new approach. I just think the way this was done was not the right way to do it. It was taken off a shelf, it was submitted, and without further consideration for how it could best be done. And I think if a conversation had occurred ahead of time with several people at the table, we could have worked this out and could have gone hand in hand to get the thing resolved. That's my position on it.
Okay.
Motion.
Are you looking for a motion?
Actually, any further questions, or should we?
I just would like to stay very much, actually, after listening very much to what Dan said, what would be my position and the reason why. I think it's important for the entire town to understand. Coming from the private sector, and also because of my background in finance, I just explained the data issue. But after what I've listened to what Dan said, here is what I will offer. Every day I read the Wall Street Journal and other financial news. I'll tell you what's happening now. Between what you call mergers and acquisition and other things, you have now top management of companies acquiring others, questioning and seconding the judgment of the current, call it operation management, that used to make final decision. My point is that because of where we are today, you have essentially companies buying other companies and shareholder level board type turning to executives. You can't make the final call on CIP. We will. To me, after reading so many private companies going that route, it does two things. First of all, you have board level type of executives saying, you know what, yes, we trust you, management, but because of the time, because of M&A and other things, this is hard-earned cash. We need to get to the shareholders and let them know where this money is being spent and why. Of course, they are protecting themselves. My point is very much to what Dan mentioned. The $100 billion number is going to happen at some point. There is something called disruption, right? We've been doing things one way all the time. With what's happening now in the private sector, sometimes, again, we can't compare prices, but what I'm trying to say is very much like what Dan mentioned, is perhaps it's worth having the other way and see, because if it doesn't work because of what we've seen in the past, then we change it back. My fear is by staying status quo and not doing anything, I think sometimes it's worth being disruptive, and next year, if it creates more frustration and to Dan's point leads to nothing, we can come back. But by keeping the status quo, 2-3 years from now, people will ask us, why did you do it that way? And look at where we are. So that's just, again, being from the private sector and being in finance. That's what I have to say. So both sides. Thank you, Larry.
Okay.
You want a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Motion to approve Article 26 as written.
Second? Do I have a second? I'll second. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, 4-5, the motion does not carry. Whew.
Well done, everyone.
Well done.
Oh,
Thanks for all the work.
That was a
Dan.
little stressful.
And thanks, Dan. That was a good write-up.
A lot shorter than 3 years ago.
Okay. Next on the agenda is,
Yeah, thank you, Dan, yeah.
Thank you, Dan, for.
thanks, Dan. Next on the agenda is really Article 4. A couple things I want to explain. We have about roughly, I think the other day I counted about 40 line items to vote on. My recommendation is, if you look at page 6 that was handed out today, you see all the yellow stuff? That's the number we're going to vote on unless somebody wants to propose some changes.
So, I have one question, because you sent an attachment today regarding what happened with Southeast.
Yeah,
I finally came with their numbers here.
yeah.
Do we need to know whether or not the town is actually going to apply that grant of $37,000?
Okay, George, are you online? George, Marie?
George, Murray?
If we're going to apply that, are we going to have to take that number off of the line item?
We can
When you're
adjust it.
talking about that, when you're talking about the
Yes, sir?
37,000, that's going to be voted by the Board of Selectmen, and then it just becomes a reality.
Okay. So I just didn't know, will that be changing when we read at the, what line item will that be on that will be read at the town meeting?
When we put the number in, okay, on Article 4, as you're seeing it now, it is minus the 37,000 with the assumption that the board was going to obviously take it.
Of course.
Oh, okay, so this has it in effect, okay.
Okay,
That's what I
Yes,
wanted.
it does.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
So, one more thing. Last year, AdCom decided, on page 1, if you look at it, there's revenue, expenses, sources of revenue. Last year, AdCom didn't like one of the revenue lines, so we make any changes. But if we're comfortable as a committee in the line of us, we're okay with the numbers here. I'm going to propose that we move to page 6. If you count the double-sided, that starts with, the first one is the Board of Selectmen budget. So what I'm going to propose is the liaison that had the Board of Selectmen, just give us a 30-second take. If you're happy, we just say so, and then Bernard will read the motion to approve the number. So before we move to page 6, I'm going to ask,
90,000. It's just like us,
you want to add, Tom?
just like AdCom.
So, page 1, everybody's happy with this number, so we're not going to adjust. There's no point in voting on it. Okay. Now, if you move to page 6, the first thing is the Board of Selectmen. The liaison for Board of Selectmen.
Is me.
Dennis, you want to give us a brief update or recommendation on it?
Well, I did all of Government A, working with Bill Keane, and John did as well, and I really didn't have any, I don't have any significant recommendations or changes. Anything that was a little out of whack was explained in the footnotes that were excellent. The assistant town manager had the wrong salary, remember that issue that we reviewed here?
Yeah.
There were several things like that, but they were explained in the footnotes and corrected as we went through the budget. So for all, Government A, I
Dennis,
I approve all of
is that everything on page 6 except finance?
Finance was Government A as well.
No, I think the finance department's
Okay, let me see. Government A, it's town administration, selectmen, legal, GIS, general insurance, and workers' comp.
Not finance.
Yeah, not finance, that's government B.
Right. Finance is you, Paul.
Yeah.
Finance, debt services, pension, health, life, state, county.
Oh,
assessments.
yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, so I think the easiest way is we would go line by whatever's on page 6, because Bernard has to be very detailed. He has to do it. So we're going to start with the first one, Board of Selectmen.
Okay, no changes.
So I make a motion for outcome to approve $23,400 for the Board of Selectmen.
Second,
All in favor?
9-0.
Okay, so
Okay.
9.
Next one is the town manager
Manager.
item. And town manager, I believe, is under, I'm trying to look it up.
That's me.
That's you too?
Yeah.
Dennis? You good?
I recommend approval. No
Okay.
changes.
I make a motion to approve the total of $607,591 for the town manager. All in favor? Oh,
Dennis, you want a second, since you're on?
Second.
Okay.
all in favor?
Okay, 9-0-0 on 9-0. Third one, Bernard,
me
is
too.
the town audit.
That's me.
Yeah. This one, I think I can speak. The number has been 40,000 since I've been here forever. And Josh, I don't know how that guy stays in business, but that's okay.
Right.
Bernard?
I make a motion for outcome to approve the total town audit of $40,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Next one is finance.
Yeah, so I'll talk to that. So we met with George. We had no issues here. They stayed within budget.
Okay.
So I make a motion for us to approve the total of $1,389,014. All in favor?
Second?
Second.
Second it? Yeah.
All in favor? 900.
Wait, Jack, are you?
I did,
Okay,
I
nine.
did. I put my hand
I was
down.
looking at you. That's okay, 900. Okay, next one is advisory committee. I don't know, I'm still looking for my $90,000.
Coming in next year.
Somebody move the decimal place.
Yeah, Josh, what happened to my $90,000?
Well, you know, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you know, I got to answer to the ad cop.
Okay,
That's me. I recommend approval.
all right, I'll second it.
Making a motion for outcome to approve the total advisory committee amount of $2,500.
Second.
All in favor?
900. Next one is legal services.
That's me also. I recommend approval.
Okay, any discussion on legal services? No, okay.
Making a motion for outcome to approve the total legal services amount of $180,090.
Dennis, you want a second?
Second.
Okay, all,
All in favor?
okay, 900. Next one is GIS IT.
It's me. I recommend approval. The reason that went up so much is that there was a grant that funded some of this, and the grant went away, but the expenses stayed going forward.
Okay, any questions for Dennis? No, Bernard?
Making a motion for us to, for outcome to approve the total geographic information system and IT,
Do a
sum
second?
of $50,139.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Okay, good.
90.
Wow, that's pretty good. Okay, next one is town clerk.
So that was Sharon's, and I will take it. So we met with Bob, no issues here. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
I've been trying to defund Bob for years.
Okay, any further discussion? You want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move, we accept this.
Okay, anyone second it? I'll second it.
For the total of $172,705.
Yes.
Okay.
You want to take a vote? Take a vote. All in favor?
All in favor? Okay, so
900. Right, you can come back next year then and try to lower it again.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, next one is the elections and registration.
That is also Sharon's, and that was pretty straightforward, kept his budget in line despite all the additional things they had to do with COVID. So I am recommending this.
Okay, any further discussion? No? Someone wants to make a
Making
motion?
motion for us to approve the amount of $92,208 for the total election and registration.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah. 900. Conservation Commission.
Yep, that was Sharon as well, so nothing to call out here. This was basically salary increases and nothing else in terms of increases. So I recommend we adopt this.
Okay, you have a
Making a motion for us to approve the total amount of $101,397.
you have a second?
Second.
Okay,
All in favor?
right, 900. Brad, it's 9, right?
I did,
Okay. That's a fast, I could look at that.
going quick.
Okay, next one is the planning board.
There's no substantial changes there, so I recommend approval as written in the,
Okay, any questions for Jack on the planning board? No?
And making a motion for us to approve the amount of $245,572.
You have a second?
second.
All in favor?
900. Next one is zoning board of appeals. I don't know who's got this. Zoning, let me look.
Looks like it was Brian's, Sharon's, and Brad's.
Yeah, Brad. Brad, do you have anything to add on this one?
Oh, zoning board? For zoning board? I do not.
This is part of the meeting with the inspection.
Okay,
guy,
no,
yeah.
I don't have anything, nothing that causes alarm, so I'd like to pass a motion to approve the zoning board of appeals.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Yeah, go. Save you.
No, it's,
Give you a break. All right, moving along. Next one is municipal building. This is municipal building is part of.
It's part of total general government, but it's its own item there.
Oh, so it's Dennis's, you're saying?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I think, see, some of these I did with Jack, so it's sort of like, but I know I did this one.
Okay, go ahead, Dennis.
Good. Yeah, no changes. I think it's, you know, they made target and no significant issues at all here.
making a motion for us to approve the total amount of $611,510.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Now, but not point of clarification. The total general government, I think we already voted 3517, so we're good. We didn't change anything.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, moving on to public safety. Brad?
So am I going to take each one of these separately, or?
Yes.
Okay.
You start with Sandbrook. Sorry.
Okay, so, so obviously Brian was going to more present tonight, but he did write us a very detailed description that came out of this. You know, as far as that portion, he had met with the inspector, Barry Ringler, the new director.
No. This is Southeastern. That's the 911 center.
Oh.
I'll save you on this one. I'll bill you on this one. Okay, Sandbrook is an assessment. You know, we just have to pay. It's part of the 4 towns, maybe someone be 5 more. So 300,000 is the same as the last fiscal year. So
310,000.
310,000. Sorry. And then, do you have any questions on the SAMRAC assessment? No. Okay.
Making a motion for us to approve $310,000.
You want a second, Brett?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
All right, 900. Okay, next one's the police department. Brett.
Okay, great. So as far as the budget, again, as Brian had written a report for us, he said we has to wait in the budgets and vote on them. He doesn't see any real issues with any of these budgets. The chiefs were fairly physically responsible this year. Continue to try to work within pretty strict guidelines. So I'd like to pass a motion.
I have a question. George, can you clarify the capital outlay of reduction of 49,000?
I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a cruiser that was taken out.
Correct.
That since earlier on.
But I thought the cruiser amount was higher than that.
No, I thought it was a cruiser, and I thought that either he forewent it or had something else in mind or something. Oh, wait a minute, it was an insurance.
It was insurance. It was an insurance issue,
Yes.
George, where the value of the vehicle could be replaced with a new one because it was relatively new. Is that right, Mike? Mike Grace is on as well. Is that accurate, Mike?
Okay, Chief. Chief, you're on mute,
Mute
Chief.
yourself, Mike. Mike, you're gonna unmute yourself. You gotta turn your mic on. There you go. There you go.
Like Zoom number 700, and I got it wrong. Yeah, so that was it. Well, we had one of our cruisers that was involved in an accident, and with the insurance that we were able to collect, and so it brings the car vehicle's life. It extends it now, and we ended up on a grant from the Gaming Commission for another vehicle, offsetting another one. So as soon as I had the opportunity to take that other one off the tax roll, off a game, because I didn't need it. So that was the reduction of the down to 3 vehicles.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, Chief, I'm just curious. Did you get the unmarked from the casino yet, or who knows when that's going to come?
Well, we're still waiting.
Okay.
You know, we're over a year in production from
Okay.
Ford, so
All right.
we're getting there. We're getting warm. Let's put it that way.
Okay, sounds
They're
good.
having trouble with the plastics these days, right?
If you're talking about the most recent application, no, none of the Gaming Commission hasn't even ventured into that one yet. So
Okay.
that was a pretty big grant that we put in for the community. So no, we have no word on that one.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thanks. All right, Brad. Any questions for Brad on the police budget? No, we're good.
I make a motion to approve $5,186,735.
Second, Brad?
A second?
All in favor?
Okay, 900.
Chief can go night-night.
You can go night, you're right. Okay, the next one's the fire department. Brad, you're very busy
Right,
tonight.
so as far as the fire, you know, there was an increase. The budget seemed pretty sound. There were some things that went into this. If I can go over some of the details, 3 full salaried firefighter paramedic positions were put in, but funded by ambulance receipts. CIP is looking to add 1 new ambulance, a replacement ambulance, a replacement of E22 fire engine. Again, a lot of this is ambulance receipts that's going to go into that. So are there any questions for me at this point?
Mike Kelleher, are you on Zoom? Chief Mike? No, okay. I was going to answer a question,
Okay.
but that's fine. All right, any questions for Brad on the fire department? No.
So making a motion for outcome to approve the total fire of $4,448,016.
Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Joint Public Safety Building. Brad.
I think that's me, right? So lastly here, I mean, it was a decrease, right? So to 72,851. Again, as I discussed earlier, it's a new director, somewhat in learning mode. They're holding off on a new truck request right now. Next year, they may look into it. But I think that's all we had with this particular
Did you
segment.
say truck request with Joint Public Safety? No, I think truck request will be the next one.
We're looking at the public safety building.
Oh, maybe I'm off. Okay. That was something else. Okay, yep. So
Okay. Any questions for the Joint Public Safety Building?
Making a motion to approve $72,851 for the total public safety building.
second?
All in favor?
Thank you. 90. Inspections Department. Here's where the
that's
truck
what it
is.
was. So pardon me on that. So, right, so the inspections department.
We've been waiting for. Hang out nice and quiet.
And that was where they're holding off any new truck requests, looking to next year. And there was a small increase that went up for that, but there was nothing out of the ordinary. Things look good.
I think the truck request was put on CIP.
On CIP.
And then it got pushed down a little. Okay. Any questions for Brad on Inspections Department? Or any questions for Barry, who's waiting? He's waving.
Oh, okay. No.
Any questions for Barry or Brad? No? Okay.
Making a motion to approve.
Actually, can I
Yes.
This, it kind of more spreads back to the whole discussion we had regarding the certification. Has there been any history in Board of Appeals with regards to increased energy rules, regulations?
Yeah, that'd be that. The lady will put the whole.
Any increase in towns that have adopted this certification for either different appeals, zoning board of appeals, or abatements, or?
That's why you asked if anybody wants to make this. No one made it easier. See if we make it.
Does nobody hear my question?
Yeah, Barry, can you respond? You got to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, what was the question?
I was just curious about if you know about whether or not any of the towns that have adopted the protocols for better efficiency and environmental whether or not.
Stretch code, are you referring to the stretch code?
Yeah, the stretch code, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Mind numb. Whether or not those towns have seen any increase in Board of Appeals or abatement requests or anything else that might be mitigating factors in that?
Requests you're talking about through like energy, national grid incentives, things like that? Is that what you're asking?
I guess it's curious about whether or not there's been any uptick in people having questions or being, I wouldn't say combative, but just being, looking for any kind of appeal on an approved plan or a plan that came back saying it doesn't meet these standards. Has there been any increase for inspections or any of that with regards to?
So it wouldn't be a zoning board of appeals situation, Tom. It would just be once it gets adopted into the local code, then that becomes the law, and that's the way that. And there's really no appeal of that. I guess I'm not aware of any appeal process beyond that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Currently, since it's not in place, they're not required to abide by the stretch energy regulations. So we haven't had any appeals because we don't have that adopted within the town yet.
All right.
I think his question though was more along the lines of, have you seen it from other towns, or is it occurring in other towns? Has there been any concerns expressed from other towns? And if you know of it, Barry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with other towns with any appeals. I know where I was in Brookline, I don't recall any appeals for the stretch energy. It was just, once it's in place, it's no different than the building code. It is the building code, it's part of it, so you've got to abide by it.
I think, Tom, it's too late. You voted yes, and once stretch code is in, it is what it is. You cannot be
I
appealed.
understand, but let's say for a historical building, like a house that's historical, do they have to abide by the brand new rules as opposed to being under?
I thought the historical were exempted, right?
Historical
I
are
believe so,
exempt,
yes.
All right, thank you.
But your house is not.
Not my house.
Okay.
Old is just old, and
Yeah.
this doesn't mean it's historical.
Thank you, that's all.
Just because you get that 75 your flag from the town doesn't mean anything.
No, okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions for either one?
Nope.
Making a motion to approve the total inspection department budget of $426,724.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Hey, now we're Foxborough Public School. Dan.
All right. Obviously, meeting with Bill Yukna, we had a bunch of discussions about how, I think it's 82% of their budget is in salaries, and a fair amount of what's left is or included in that is costs related to special ed. I didn't see anything in there that was out of the ordinary from previous years or anything that I thought was outrageous in terms of any sort of asks. So I certainly don't think we had anything that we discussed ad nauseum with Bill Yukna, and I recommend this budget.
I just want to add, actually, Dan, Brad, and myself, we spent a lot of time meeting with the school department, and we vetted the budget thoroughly, and I support whatever Dan is proposing.
I'd like to second it.
Well, he's
gonna
going to
read
make a
out
motion.
the number.
I'm making a motion to approve the total Foxborough Public School System total budget of $38,616,014.
You go ahead, Dan.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, the school department, 900. Next one is Southeastern Regional.
I think we've discussed, we've had all our questions answered on Southeastern. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes, I
And
believe
Tom,
so.
just to confirm that this number you see here
That's what I'm checking out right-
reflects the credit. I already checked it.
Yeah, okay.
Page 122, is it?
And my apologies on not seconding fast enough. I was looking at the $39 million number, and then when you read the 38, I had a brain freeze for a minute there, so apologies on that.
Okay, the budget that was that was in the book was 734, 346.
That was the original, correct?
That was the
Then?
original, and now it says 733, 815.
Because this reflects that 34, which George explained to you, which reflects the 37,241.
Right, but that's the difference between what's in the book and what's on this page is only $1,000. The original
That's
number in
right.
the book, the original budget item
That's
was
right.
734, 346.
Yeah.
And now you said 733,
When the original number was put in, we used
the place saver.
what the percentage increase
Yeah.
was from the last year.
Okay.
Because remember, we only just got the Southeastern Mass school thing within the last week or two, okay?
All right.
And essentially, the number went up higher than what we had actually predicted it was going to be.
The 771.
And then when you take, huh?
The 771.
Yeah, and
156.
then when
Okay.
you take off the 37, it brings it back down $1,000 less than what we had put in.
So we're actually pretty accurate.
Oh, I got this at 99.9%.
You can go to Vegas now.
I mean, I'd love to say that we actually knew that that was what was going to happen, but I was kind of disappointed. I thought we were going to get some major money back, but I guess, things didn't go the way we thought, but anyway.
Is there any expectation that with the latest stimulus bill going to 2022 or 2023 that there be more funds coming back also to regional schools, or is this pretty much it?
This is what we know of right now. I mean, just remember, whatever comes back is split between the towns,
Right.
okay? I'm not sure whether they're going to get any more or not, whether it, if they do, it usually will come back to us in the form of some type of a reduction, because they're pretty well subject to how much they can actually have on hand.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any further questions
Nope.
on Southeastern?
Making a motion to approve the total Southeastern Regional budget of $733,815.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Moving along, next area is Public Works. Tom?
Public salaries and wages, operating expenses, Public Works. Stay within their, the budget parameters, nothing out of the ordinary here, most contractual obligations for increases.
Any questions for Tom on the Public Works? Nope.
Making
Okay.
a motion to approve the Public Works budget of $2,069,223.
Second?
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Snow and ice.
That's already, it's built in, that's what, to carry that forward to the previous year, from the previous year. It goes to the top line of the budget for the next year. So that's pretty much what we spent last year. That's obligatory.
Yeah, it is. It's,
Making a motion to approve the snow and ice budget of $216,300. All in favor?
900. Street lighting, Tom?
Street lighting reflects the final addition of the conversion process.
I think last year was the final. Thank God I'm not, that's not. yeah,
Now we're finally
yeah,
seeing the
yeah.
results of that, is
Yeah.
the reduction in the actual expense
Yeah.
for the annual amount. So 110,000 reflects that, everything in operational for a full year.
Any questions? I'm just glad I don't have to stand up and ask for town to pay for additional light bill. Done it 2 years in a row.
Yep.
Making a motion to approve the total lightning amount of $110,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Solid waste.
That's the contractual obligation to take care of the final waste there is connected from the town's buildings. It's pretty much in line. Actually, it's a reduction from the. So.
Hey, George, are you there, George? I have a question.
Yeah, I'm here.
You know, the operating expense for solid waste for $40,050, that is to pay for what? I'm just curious.
That's just our when I say ours, the town's, meaning the town buildings, the town,
Dumpsters.
Right.
waste.
dumpsters.
that type of stuff, not houses, the town
Yeah,
buildings
yeah.
and stuff that's out of East Foxborough.
So it's the municipal building. Now, the schools included or
Yes, yeah.
excluded?
Thank you. I don't know why the hell municipal didn't come into my mind.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I should have said.
As well as trash cans around town that get centralized.
yeah.
Okay.
If I may, Larry, can I just jump
Sure.
in on that quick? So that does also cover the hazardous waste day that we have every year.
Okay.
So that has been running 15 to 20,000 over the last few years. We're doing that as a regional event this year with Mansfield and Norton.
Okay.
So we actually had a grant come through the health directors to combine with those two towns. So we're doing a joint event. There'll be a drop off at the Xfinity Center, and there'll be a doorstep collection similar to last year. But that 40,000 does include that hazardous waste. It's a no charge event to the residents.
Okay. When is that going to happen?
That's in 2 weeks. In case anyone knows, I got it marked on my calendar. I'll be seeing you, Chris.
April 24th.
That's right.
Can you drop off computers too? Oh no.
I don't think so. I'm not sure.
We don't have an electronics drop off at this time, but it is something I'll be looking into for this next fiscal year.
Fine. All right.
Was there a reduction or an elimination last year because of COVID? I seem to recall, wasn't it passed over last year?
No, we still had it last year. We converted from a drop off to the curbside collection event.
that's what
So
it
that
was,
was the
right.
first time we actually had the company drive to your house. We had almost 200 people participate last year in that
okay.
curbside collection.
I know there's a change. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Making a motion to approve solid waste disposal and collection, total amount of $40,050.
Second.
All in favor?
900. So what do you have then? Like oil drums and
I
stuff?
do.
you know?
That's exactly what I have.
You can make a steel band instead.
I could, yeah.
Okay. Moving along. Board of Health. I don't know. Let me see who owns this.
I was one of the people on that.
That's right, Jack. It's yours.
We had a change in the health agent, as you recall, and the fire chief got involved in submitting the initial budget. But the bottom line is there's no significant change, and I recommend approval as shown here.
Okay. Any questions for Jack? No? Okay.
Making a motion to approve the total Board of Health budget of $273,770.
Did you second, Jack?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
900. Next one is Health Services. Must be you, Jack.
I recommend this budget as approved, $9,754, or as shown. Not
Making a motion to approve the the health service amount of $9,754.
Second.
All in favor?
900. Next one is Council of Aging. So who has COA?
This is one of the most active organizations in town, and I think our discussions, you might recall 2 months ago, showed that. The change in the budget is 2%. I recommend approval as shown.
Okay. Any further questions for Jack?
Making a motion to approve the Council on Aging and Human Resource total budget of $494,017.
Second.
All in favor?
900. Next one, Veteran Services.
Veteran Services, most of this money is, I think it's 80%, is eventually comes back to us from the state. And as you can see, this has been a level funded budget as well. And I recommend approval as shown.
Okay, any questions? No. I think you're right, Jack. I think it's the expenses that we're getting back, not so much salary, but yeah. You're right.
That's
Right,
right. Yes,
yeah,
expenses.
That's fine.
Not salary.
Okay, any further questions? No?
Making a motion to approve the Veteran Services budget of $330,913.
Second.
All in favor?
900. Recreation.
Board of Recreation, this is the salary for the Board of Recreation Director, and as you can see, it's been essentially flat for the last several years. I recommend approval as shown.
Making a motion to approve $93,273 for recreation.
Second.
All in favor?
900. Okay, next one's library. I think it's back to Paul.
Yep, that was Sharon. So we've got a couple of offsetting things here. There was the retirement of a longtime librarian and her replacement by someone paid at a lower amount, and that's a large benefit. Partially offsetting that is they are getting a new copier, looking at long-term lease arrangements, and they had some increases in custodial services because of COVID. But overall, it does represent a decrease, and we were fine with that.
Any questions for Paul or Sharon? Okay.
Making a motion to approve $1,128,562 for library.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Historical Commission.
There's no salaries here. It's simply operating expenses, which is primarily maintenance of the building. As you can see, this has been virtually unchanged. I recommend approval as shown.
I'm making a motion to approve $14,175 for historical commission.
I second that.
All in favor?
900. Debt services.
Yep, that's back to mine. So this is a rolling capital item, and it's dropped because we've had a long-term debt service fall off of it. So no concerns here with how they've organized it.
Okay, any questions for Paul or George?
What's the operating expense item that was only a couple $100 the last 2 years, and now is that set at 25,000?
Hey, George, did you catch?
Operating?
That's the. I
You
think that's the
saying
fee
it
you
was
pay.
an operating expense that was under debt, and it's 725?
No, it's $25,000, George.
George, is that the underwriter's fee you always set aside?
Yeah, but I didn't think any of that changed. I thought it was exactly the same as it was the last year.
It is, it's
But there
flat.
was there's usually something to pay for the actual bond issuances that goes into that line. And by the way, I think the last two that we've done they were taken care of with the premium anyway.
Yeah.
But you have to keep it there in the event that it doesn't work.
Was that in relationship to the sewer water bonding, or was that related to the borough school?
No, the sewer sewer and water is on their own thing.
So this is to the borough school bonding?
Yeah, it was in there for that, but I don't think we used it anyway.
So is it going to be an annual fee now, or is it with your initial issuance of the bond?
It's usually for the initial issuance of the bond. So what you do is you keep something like that floating in there in the event that you need it, if you're going to bond for it. You don't use it, it goes back to the general fund at the end of the year.
All right.
Yeah, I think Tom did just have to set aside the underwriter's fee just in case he had to pay.
Okay.
The last couple of years, 19 and 20, but he didn't pay that much, so
Right.
that's why. Okay, any further questions?
Making a motion to approve the debt service amount of $3,637,570.
Second.
All in favor?
900. Next one is pension. I believe it's
That's
Paul.
Yes, that's the Norfolk County pension assessment that comes to us. Not much to add here, other than the fact that it wasn't that big an increase compared to prior years, and our position is particularly good relative to other towns.
Any questions on pension for George? Nope. Okay.
Making a motion to approve the pension total amount of $5,473,537.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Okay. Unemployment compensation? It's probably you, right? Paul?
Is that back to Dennis? No,
Unemployment.
it's the insurance. Okay. Well, I'm going to take it. So it's flat, obvious. I mean, it's right at the budgeted amount there, so it looks fine.
Yeah. Any questions for George? Hey, George, did unemployment go up from prior year? I'm just asking from a COVID point, because a lot of people were still working, so.
Yeah, well, it's a funny thing. It went up, and some of it was legitimate COVID. I think Mike had to go backwards because there was a lot of fraud going on at the time, and I think he got that all adjusted. But so now when it's up this year, we'll have to fix it with some internal transfers at the end of the year. But it's primarily from a number of school folks who have been laid off.
Mike, would you like to add, or you're good? Mike?
No, I'm good. I
Okay.
agree with what George said.
Okay. All right.
Making a motion to approve the total employment compensation of $87,125.
Second.
All in favor?
900. Okay, next one is group insurance benefit.
Sure. So this is a pretty modest increase here. So this is obviously the premiums for group insurance, so no concerns here.
Okay. Any questions?
Making a motion to approve the total group insurance benefits of $9,075,700.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Next one is risk management.
So these are the remainder of the insurance costs, and those have actually gone down. Hey, George, I apologize. I don't have a note on this. Can you remind me what the source of the drop is?
I think it was there's a couple things. We had a good play out this year on both the health insurance and the regular, like, the building insurance and what have you. And in my, a lot of the stuff went down this year on the health because nobody was going out for going to the hospital.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think on the buildings and stuff, we had a decent year, and they just didn't go up all that much because probably as a result of nobody being, there to really do any damage to the buildings or anything was closed down.
Well, included in that number, everyone is the workers' comp number, and that workers' comp number went down rather significantly this past year, which saved us almost a couple $100,000 in terms of premium.
Right.
So, and that was because our modification number went down. And I think, Paul, you're familiar with that in terms of how that works. And so I think we had a good year. It usually takes 3 years for that stuff to roll off and become a good year for us. And this was the year that we had it, so it worked out pretty good.
That's right. That was your experience mod going down, and that's a hard thing to move down, so that's good.
Right.
It is. Yeah, it was good news.
Okay. Any questions?
Making a motion to approve the risk management budget of $826,505.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Next one is the reserve fund. Did anybody have this? If not, I can talk about it.
That's the standard.
That's just for the
year.
benefit of new members. That's the $75,000 if the town overspends and Bill or George needs.
Unexpected
Unexpected,
charges too,
yeah.
like extra legal fees or
Correct.
other things
Yeah.
unexpected.
So that's something that comes to AdCom year end for
Why
payment.
wasn't it done in 2020, but 2019?
Because we didn't spend any money. They
So in 2019, you actually spent it. 2020, you didn't spend anything. It was in the 21 budget, and it's in this budget, but
Yeah.
it's just,
Okay.
I mean,
Jim, these are unanticipated things that can come up during the year, but it has to be an unanticipated expense. In other words, you can't just increase your budget and spend money precipitously. It's just something that was something, if something breaks, or if we had a significant impact on a legal case, whatever the case may be. These are things that we didn't anticipate when the budget was put together. So this is your ability to handle things within the course of the fiscal year. And you're right, you're all correct that 2020 was a good year in that respect. We didn't have anything to bring forward for that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm sorry I stole your part, Dennis. I think this one belongs to you, right?
Stories about that thing. from
I think
the-
The insurance was Dennis. This didn't
Oh,
belong to
insurance, oh, no,
anybody.
sorry, no, man. All right, any further questions for Bill on the 75,000? No, if not, I'll make a motion, well, actually, you can.
Also, making
Yeah.
a motion to approve $75,000 for the reserve fund.
I'll second.
All in favor?
900. Okay, next one's the salary reserve fund.
So nobody has that. This is a
has
brand new
it.
category. I mean, George owns it. I could put it.
George,
forward.
can you give us a quick spiel on this?
Essentially, what I'll say this again, what we were trying to do, you won't see it last year because this is the first year we've actually done it.
Yep.
So the argument is that even if we don't put the money for these salary increases or contractual salary increases into the budget until it's done, what we used to do is would go to a free cash and take it out. But then what's happening is it's skewing your budget. So this year we put in what we thought we were going to need for the five budgets that Mike just did up for 22, okay? And ultimately, the money's just going to be transferred from that account to the various accounts it's going to be needed in once it's been approved at town meeting and once the contracts come into play. So essentially, the bottom line of your budget isn't going to change a whole hell of a lot because you already had it in there. So it isn't like, well, you started off with $10 million and then now all of a sudden it's $10.5 million halfway through the next year. It's going to be $10.5 million. It's just a matter of where did you transfer it to after the fact. And by the way, those earlier on when you were voting those ones for 22, the contracts, you're taking it from there.
Okay, George, I have a question.
Voting it to take it.
George,
Yeah.
so that 193 is for the fiscal year 22 contract, correct?
Yes.
But the reason I'm asking is the 5 contracts that we voted on tonight, I think they totals 212,000. So you might be a little short.
That's true, but there's enough there that there's certain
You have some slush fund to get the money from.
Departments, there's certain departments that have overtime and stuff.
Got
You
it.
won't really know if they're off that much until the end of the year. And then if there is a very minor thing, we'll catch it with the with internal transfers.
Got it.
I do want to say this is a new thing, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, I do
because
too.
the negotiations we just talked about would have been all buried in the line items, and now it's explicit.
I do. It's a cleaner process. I'm just questioning to make sure that you have enough money and you don't put not enough. That's all.
So the position we took on that, gentlemen, was that, and ladies, is that we recognize that the account is a little bit short, but we're going to manage our way through that for the rest of the year, and we think we can do that.
That's music to my ears, Bill. You're spending less than asking. That's good.
That's right.
So we approved those expenditures twice then.
Well, actually, what you were doing was you're not getting twice the money. All you're doing is you're saying the money's here. Now, like any other thing, I might have 50,000 in my budget, and you're short in your budget. I can't just unilaterally take it and move it. Okay, it has to be done through a process, and that process has to be via either like those internal transfers that you guys do at the end of the year, or via a town meeting action. So you have the money in there. And let's say we didn't get all those contracts done for another couple of months, it would have still been there. And then we would have said, okay, let's transfer that money from one place to another with a town meeting action or something to that effect. So again, one is really authorizing the movement, and the other is putting the money aside.
Yeah, it's cleaner this way.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add, Mike? Mike Johns?
So I'd like to echo what George and Bill just said, and we did actually have our operations meeting this morning and talked about this exact thing with the with several of our department heads and let them know that George and Bill and I had this conversation the other day, and recognizing that that the salary reserve was $19,000 less than the total of the 5 contracts, and we were going to manage this through the year, and that they would be feeling a little bit of downward pressure on their budgets.
Okay, thank you.
Making a motion to approve the salary reserve fund for the amount of $193,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. Moving on to the enterprise fund. Okay, first one's the water department. Tom?
I might,
Oh, go ahead.
Larry, before you go, yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
Just on the water, you might want to vote with the contingency in the debt service. We're going out to bond tomorrow. The sale is going through. So the water department's debt might go hopefully down, but it could fluctuate slightly one way or the other, depending on what's the rate we got and what the premium we got tomorrow. So when you vote it, just be aware, you might say, we'll vote this and maybe make it contingent upon whatever the results are of the bond sale.
Should we hold off on this vote then, to get the numbers?
Well, we need to write up and submit to the town. That's
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little confused now. Are we looking at the numbers strictly for the enterprise funds, or are we looking at what might change in debt service due to that?
B.
The debt service in the water, not the sewer, because we're not going out into
Okay,
the sewer.
all right, right.
So there's one line in there that right now, you might even notice that from an earlier version, that's already down by like 100,000 or so. When we initially asked, and we had made our timeline, of course, the Hilltop came in and they give a pretty, big number so that you're not going to be under when you get there. So now we got close. They gave us another one that they thought it was going to be, and it brought it significantly down. But now, tomorrow, when they actually make the sale, I'm being told it's probably going to be a pretty good number. But, I'm going to say it could go either way, up or down. I don't think a hell of a lot, but, depending on the interest rate we get and what the premium is going to be. So, there'll be some minor fluctuation in that debt service for the water department for the new bond issuance for the water infrastructure for this year.
Okay,
So-
yeah, I just
so
wanted
short,
to make
Mr.
it
Chairman.
clear that we weren't, the grand total for the general fund, there will be no changes to that. This is specifically for the water enterprise fund.
Yes.
Got
That's
it.
exactly
Just for
right,
water.
Dan. You're
I
100%
just
right. It's
wanted to
only
clear
for
that-
the
make sure that was
bond,
clear.
not for the general fund, not for the general fund.
George,
So
the
just,
question I have is, in the
to be
budget
more
book on
specific
page
about what-
181,
Sorry?
that was presented to us, only had 3 lines, salaries, expenses, and debt service of 3.3 million, 3.315. So what you're saying is if we add up the principal, interest, and expenses, it should be about 3.2 right now?
Right. Well, right. That's what it is right now. But if you were to break the debt service open, okay, the lines, there's more than one line. All you're seeing is the lump sum right there.
Yep.
But when you look at the more detailed budget, you'll see that there's like a number of lines in there, okay? For things that they've already gone out to bond for. And then there was a line for this year that was brand new, that I think we called it water infrastructure, okay? And that would be in the book with the binder on it there that we gave. But you'll see that it's actually higher than what we've got now. So
Supposed to 3315.
How are we going to vote on this?
George, in full disclosure, George and I, we've actually discussed that. George, you may recall
yeah.
when between yesterday and today when we were actually reconciling the sources and uses of funds, so I was aware of that. But Larry, to your point, from a technical standpoint, one could argue is that we could take the vote of, let's call it every single line item, with the exception of the debt service interest on the water funds, or vote on the total and say we exclude the debt service interest water fund until we get the final figure.
Yeah, you could do it like that.
In other words, we could say that, I mean, if you look at it in total for the, because it's self-funded anyway,
Right.
the water and sewer is the sum of the 7,382,361 plus 1,695,345. Now, we know that the sewer fund per George is not changing at all. So the 1,695,345 is clean.
Right.
At issue is the component of the debt service interest of the 1,146,220 within the 7,382,361 of the water fund that may change. So perhaps we could vote with the exclusion of the debt service interest for the reason that George stated, and George could perhaps send to all of us an email confirming that number when it's final, and we can compare to this 1,146,220, and basically, if it's within reason, if it's lower, it's an easy call. If it's higher, we can, and George supports it, we'll decide from there. The point being is that this number would be based on the final calculation as George explained. So we can still take the vote with excluding the debt service interest on the water fund. Once George gets that final number, he'll email it to us. If it's lower, then it's easy. If it's higher, then, I don't know, Tom.
I think they're going the same way. If it goes up, we have to vote again, right?
Exactly.
If it goes down, we don't have to vote again.
Life is good, exactly.
That's right. So,
No, but you
Mr.
just-
Chairman, can I just interject?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's important to know that the estimate for the interest on this is about 3%. All right, that's what we've been using for the bond issuance.
Yep.
We anticipate that number will come down. So we're hedging our bet that it's going to come down as opposed to going up. So just so you know that, just as before you enter your vote on this.
Right.
So
And it's also important to keep in mind too, you just want to make sure that, I mean, even if it does come down, everybody will be happy, but you want to, the bottom line is going to change by whatever it is. If it comes down by $12,182, it's going to be $12,182 less than what you're originally looking at. So you just got to be aware of that. That's all.
Yeah, so perhaps we could make, I mean, a motion to basically adopt it as is with the exception of debt service, and basically agree to take another motion on the debt service to be revisited once George sends.
I see your point. We could technically vote 7,382, the whole amount.
Yes.
If the number comes down, do we still take a vote, or we don't have
We
to?
don't take another vote, right?
But if the number goes up, then yeah, we
Yes.
will convene.
So we want
Let's
to do it
vote
twice, or
7-3,
just
vote
one?
one, vote individually, 7-3, and then 1-1, yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Vote them as shown,
that's
and then
exactly
when
right.
read at town meeting, if it's lower,
We're
then
good.
that's all.
We're good, yeah. Agree, agree. So, okay.
That's right.
So, making a motion to approve the water fund amount of
Actually,
$7,382,361.
hold on.
Oh.
So Bill and George, you guys okay with that strategy?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, as long,
Very
yeah,
much so.
Okay.
as long as you.
If it's higher, we'll convene again
I'd like to
and we'll
make a
meet.
motion at town meeting then to
Yeah.
raise it, right?
Right.
That'll come from you, George?
Yeah, you want to be as clean as you can at town meeting, though. I mean,
Right.
if the number goes up, then I think you should meet again and take a vote.
Right.
But if it's low, I just leave it the way it is.
Yes.
Right.
Agree.
It just gives you authorization to spend up to
We
that.
will call a meeting if it's higher, a quick one, and we'll
Put that on
vote
the
it.
agenda if we
If we
have to.
want to do virtual, that's fine, we can do virtual, we can just roll call 10 times, 11 times.
That's right.
Okay,
It's too bad we're only one day off here. I mean,
I know, I
we'd be
know.
all
It's just
done by
timing,
1
how it
tomorrow,
works.
you know?
That's right.
So,
But by Friday, you can have it on an agenda if you need to for next week.
yeah, yeah, that's fine, okay, but not,
So making a motion to approve the total water fund amount of $7,382,361 as is.
Second.
All in favor?
okay, 900. Last item, sewer enterprise, or sewer fund, sorry.
So there was no question there?
Actually, George, you wanna, I think we're good, right?
say again?
Microphone caught that.
Do we want George to give a,
Sorry?
or not? Do we want, actually, who has sewer enterprise?
That was part of DPW.
So you wanna give a quick,
Yeah.
quick spiel?
It's, negative balance on the principal. It's in line with 0.06%. I mean, it's right in line with what it's supposed to be.
Okay, any questions for Tom?
Nope.
Okay, for that.
Making a motion to approve sewer fund of $1,695,345.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, 900. I believe that concludes the budget.
Also borne out by fees. Right,
Exactly.
And a couple quick things. So I think Paul and I received pretty much all the articles that the town warrant articles that was voted last week, with the exception, I think, Tom, I think you're the only one. So the warrant articles. So if you can submit it by this Friday, that would be great.
Yep.
And then the rest of the articles, most people already kind of did their write-up, just have to insert the stuff in. So, preferably if we can get it by Monday, that would be nice, because it'll give us time to edit and put them together. One thing I just want to say to Dennis is that on your stretch code, just add a line of the people that voted against why, pretty much, concerned about cost. That's all. Like a line or two, just it's a fair balance, because it wasn't unanimous. So put a comment why, one line, one item is fine, just say why. we
Larry
voted.
didn't like it.
You can say that. You can say that. No, Paul didn't like it. He just kept quiet. He made me do all the talking. So other than that, I think we're good. And town meeting is March 10. It's 7:30. Usually,
May 10th.
what did I say, March?
Not
Like,
March 10th.
May 10. March 10, 2022. No, I'm sorry. Okay, it's May 10 at 7:30. Usually Frank likes AdCom to show up about 7 o'clock, so he can hand you out the motion, get settled down. So just plan on being at the high. I don't know where the location is, because the last time they were talking about maybe an open meeting. Just mark down May 10. And then I think that's about it. If we need to have a meeting to vote a higher number for the water, then I think we can do it by Zoom. We'll just call out everybody's name. Okay? I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? 900. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good night.
All right, night.
Thanks, everyone.
I went to Baltimore the day after.